It's like a pizza crunch without the batter. It's like the wood juice without the water. You'll never get the knickers I found. What a fucking chance. Premeditated batter. Premeditated batter.
Allan McCarthy. You became infamous in the 90s when you were arrested for drugs trafficking and sentenced to 6 years in a Spanish jail. It was there you became involved in a prison band, which led to radio play and regular leave from prison to record music. Upon release, you found your way back to Scotland and ventured into the world of advertising. Now you find yourself in the Patter Puffy. A story of many ups and downs, but if we can, let's just go back to the start to gain an insight into the events that occurred to create the character that is you today. So, how did life begin for you?
Well, I'm from Barhead,
Okay.
just not far from here. I was actually quite quiet at school. I was a really wee quiet fat kid. Suddenly took a jump at 13, by which time nobody messed with us, but I was like about 5'9" and about 20 stone or something like that.
Okay.
But I was very bright, believe it or not. My mum used to keep, every time she met somebody, her favourite story was I got what do you call it? Not a bursary, but like the two brightest kids in the whole of Scotland got sent to either, I think it was St Aloysius or Hutchie Grammar. You got the fee-paying schools. I got that and I wouldn't go because I didn't like the uniform. And that was the career, as you go to like Hutchie Grammar or St Aloysius, then you go to Oxford and then you go there.
Right,
and I
that's
wouldn't
the
go.
setup. Oh, and you never went?
No, I was like, I'm not going there. That's for puffs and all that, you know what I mean? Because I could just imagine me coming home from Hutchie Grammar with the wee uniform on and getting the shit kicked to me when I went in back to Barhead. So I did that, went to... I left school early, not through choice, because I basically sailed through every exam. Because I was playing in wee bands at night, I'm coming into lessons school at 9 o'clock in the morning. I've been playing in a pub till 3 o'clock. I'm like that, zonked out. But come the exam time, I'd pass it. So they couldn't do it because like I got all A's and all, I got sailed through. And eventually got to this sort of stage where, it was just the couple of drug-related things, but just Valiums and things like getting them at my mum's cupboard to get to the boys. And my mum would hear about this, so she'd order more Valium. So it was a fabricating thing, The more trouble we caused, the more Valium she got out of the doctor. and had community involvement, police at the door and all that, that which was the drug squad. But It was so like for the wee quiet kid at the school, it was like. So they put me away to college. I went to actually college and uni at 15, which was unheard of.
Right, I see. What were you studying?
I ended up, they accepted me for Glasgow Uni and that, but then because of my age, I couldn't go there because it was licensed premises.
Right.
So I had to go and do 2 years at Slough College, which was counting towards the degrees and all that.
Right.
And by then, I knew people at Glasgow Tech, which is now Caledonian. And I did my first degree there at Caledonian. And because of my background with the bands and that, if you look back at Glasgow Tech, it's quite a weird history. Again, these weird things that happened in my life. Glasgow Tech, I had just joined, and Glasgow Tech didn't have a students' union. It got burnt down the year before.
Right.
And it was a place called The Bubble, which was just this big inflatable tent. So they had to build a students' union. Now, the guy that was actually the entertainment manager before me is a guy called Andy Kerr. But at election time, I don't know if he's still going, but he became, the last time that Labour was about to win the election, maybe 10, 12 years ago, he was like the vice president of the Labour Scotland. And this was the guy that ran Glasgow Tech into the ground. He'd been health minister, and the guy was about the most unfit guy I know. And then he was finance minister. I was 2 years younger than him, and I was paying the rent. You know what I mean? So as a finance minister, it didn't do much. You can cut this bit out because it's bad mouthing.
Right, okay.
But as a health minister, he was doing more speed than anybody I knew.
Really? Aye?
Yeah, he became like Labour Party, because all the students' union ones, they all go into political careers. So I get taken in and I get voted in as the entertainment manager. We didn't have a students' union building. We had to build it. So 17-year-old, I wasn't even allowed to drink in the students' union. I'm negotiating, I'm signing away the students' union beer for the next 5 years to get like Alloa Breweries to build the building. I've got somebody else to build the staging, somebody else to put a PA system in. We've got City Sounds DJs that have contracted, they'll be the DJs for the next 20 years. So they'll put in all the speakers and sound systems, somebody will put in the bars. I'm negotiating contracts worth hundreds of thousands. And I'm getting a £5 a night. But that was a lot of money to me then. And we were putting on bands, like, I mean, I used to put on bands, Glasgow Tit, I think, held 1,000. So we're taking £5 a night. You know what I mean? I'm getting a £5 the same as every other steward.
And where's the money going to, like the university?
Student union, just to put
union.
better bands and all that.
Right, okay, so it's like a fund as such?
Aye,
right.
It's just like, not a charity, because it got the beer kept down and you could afford the next time to if you put on like Wham and you get 5,000 people, you could put on a band you liked that didn't have the money, a new band and stuff like that.
Aye.
So our thing was to get bands that were not on Top of the Pops, if you remember that yet, but we're just about to. So the idea was I'd book them 6 months in advance. So by the time they'd made it, they were like wanting to play the SEC or something like that. And quite often we'd get paid a couple of grand not to play because the band was contracted to play us for like 500 quid. But they would get £5 if they played the SEC or Hampden. You know what I mean? The bands went. So
Right,
the
so
idea
you
was
still
to
get your payment?
we would get paid for them no paying.
Right.
So the union was making money. And I don't know if you remember, I think they're still going, Bennett's, the gay disco.
Aye, I don't know if it's still going, but I remember.
But
it's
that
quite-
was this
quite
a gay
notorious.
disco, and obviously there's a gay, before it was famous, it was only lesbian and gay then, it wasn't the LGBTQ plus, it was just the LG. Lesbian and Gay Society, they weren't and they approached us like Bennett's was shut. There was a fire or health thing or something like that. They'd know where to go every Saturday night. So the students' union wasn't open on a Saturday night unless there was a band on. Do you think about it? All the students on a Friday, they're in the union, they just stay on and they go to the disco. But you're not going to come in for Greenock or Edinburgh or that back into Glasgow to go to the students' union disco on a Saturday. So it never opened. So we actually started doing, Bennett's was in our place and it was us being the stewards and the bouncers. And for there, the people that ran that and other clubs went, like, you're quite hanging me on the door. Like, why don't you, because we want to get away from the gorillas working on the door. You can talk, you're quite polite, you can still look after yourself, you're not an idiot. But why don't you come up and we'll try this on the clubs? So from getting a £5 a night, all of a sudden I was getting like, say, 15, 20 quid, which was what the doormen were getting. Then all of a sudden I was getting 25 quid at the door because I'm at the door because I knew people had said, look, that's Jordan. If you see him and his girlfriend or his boyfriend nowadays,
Both.
both, just let them in. So I was still the door, but my responsibility was not to be the hard man and if there's a fight, get a bat. Mine was to stop the trouble before it started.
Right,
I wouldn't
okay.
let them in the first place.
Silver tongue on the door.
Exactly, because up until then the bouncers were just known for, they caused more fights in the clubs than the people did.
Aye,
the
'cause back in
bouncers.
the old days, the bouncers did not take shit. It's like nowadays, it's
Yeah,
kinda
the
getting
SIA
bouncers.
licence and all that.
Aye,
No,
go on,
I wasn't
back then
heard
it
of.
was just gangsters in the door that would
It was.
absolute
So,
bucket.
like, I went for getting a £5 a night to getting like 50 quid a night, and instead of me being like the old, used to get them out of, Slaters, the second hand bit out of
Old
Slaters.
tucks.
Aye, and it was too big and too small with the sizes. Instead, they took me because I was, I got the whole James Bond one made
so
to
you got a
measure.
tailor-made suit, eh?
Aye, and I'm standing there and like, it was things like, at the time, I'm not saying it was these people, but of that ilk, it was like Carol Smiley or something like that, or Kelly Cooper Barr and all that. That was the ones that were going about then. I'd have me in the dinner suit, one of the girls, in a sort of nice dress and all that, at the door. As opposed to, you go to, that was the Mardi Gras, you've got the warehouse next door, which is still like in the 50s, and you've got 7 bouncers at the door, all like,
I just
whereas-
staring you out.
so all the footballers and the gangsters themselves, all the top guys would come up to the Mardi Gras because, it was a nicer place.
There's a bit more upmarket.
But at the door they get greeted, hello Jordan, how you doing? Nice to see you back again. I'd know that wasn't your wife, so I'd be like, oh yeah. But if your wife come up and say, oh, I've not seen you for a while, Jordan, you know what I mean?
Aye.
And the thing was, the first few nights, people would be, I'd just shake your hand. And you feel something, and I'm like, okay. And the type, there'd be a £1 note back then. Usually it was a £5 or a tenner. And I remember the first time getting something, and I went, oh, does the feel it's a bit thicker? Goes to the toilet, and Mum, you're up there now, so you can't hear this. The way we used to work it, we'd get like a gram of speed between, because you're up all night and you've been studying. Well, some people were studying, me weren't they? And we'd go into like seven lines. So there'd be 3s. So you get 2 lines each, and if it was your lucky week, you'd get the third one. And that was 13 quid, and that was all we knew. That was like chip in 4 quid each, you know what I mean? That was it. I get this thing. I took it home to my mate. My mate's a bit older, and he's like, that's Charlie. Fuck, that's fucking really good, Charlie. You know, that's fucking mental. And at that point, I think it was like, I'd be telling a lie if I said it was 50 or 60 quid. So we had a line out each. But because I'm getting off the head guy, you know, this is the head gangster guy that's important that is giving it to me. He's not going to give us the rubbish. He's giving us that, which my mates went in and sold for about 100 quid because it's not been cut, it's not been hang-made. So in my first night working kind of thing, I've got like a couple of lines of Charlie, and we're 100 quid to the good. And like, as opposed to getting a £5 a night working in the Students' Union. And when we were working there, and the Students' Union thing, I was making all this money for other people and could promote the clubs and that. And the Mardi Gras is open on Saturday night. It's the busiest place in Glasgow, and the Sunday night it's not open because the same owners own the warehouse next door, and the warehouse on a Sunday is the place in Glasgow. Why don't we hire the Mardi Gras? Well, but nobody will come. Well, we'll give it a try. And basically, we were first night doing it with like over 1,000 people, and we was doing it there. But that was the first sort of club nights. Nobody had club nights before. And then we were taking people in coaches through to Edinburgh. It's a place called the Electric Circus in Edinburgh. Right. We'd hire that and take people through to Glasgow, plus we'd promote it in Edinburgh. And then the people from Edinburgh, the nights that it wasn't in Edinburgh, they come through to Glasgow. And then we did it with Fat Sam's in Dundee, and we looked at Newcastle as well. Right, okay. And that's how it all sort of took off. And around about that time, there was sort of issues with tax and VAT and all that. I don't even know if it ever came to end.
Taxman came knocking.
I just buggered off over to Spain. You know what I mean? It was just an excuse to go over. You know,
so was that when you eventually, the first time you went over to Spain?
Yeah, yeah.
So what age were you?
I had just turned 21.
Right, so you just turned 21. What was the impetus for you to go to Spain? Like, as you say, like the taxman started sniffing about, but was there any opportunity in Spain? You're just like,
no, I just went over.
So was that a holiday?
I went over and like, I was over there, I was just bumming about because I'd not had a holiday. Back then, people didn't go to Spain that much and all that, you know what I mean? I went when I was about 13 or 14 a couple of times with my mum and dad to like Benidorm and Lorette de Mar. That was out of the country. And the thing was, I went down, you didn't have internet then, you'd none of the, you know, Globespan or the ticket things for your planes. The thing called bucket shops, I think it was at Oxford Street, and these bucket shops were just wee CD offices where you went in and they would have flight offers, because back then it's no terrorism. If you flew into Glasgow on a return ticket, you could sell me a return ticket. You wouldn't even need to check me in. You could just sell me a return ticket and I'd go back on your return ticket.
Right, I see.
Right.
Okay.
Right, that was up until like the 90s. You could do that, you know what I mean? So people were selling second-hand tickets.
Much a simpler time.
Much simpler. And I remember, I just want a flight out. Why? I just want to go somewhere in America. Oh no, I couldn't handle an 18-hour flight. Okay. Tenerife, oh, it's an island. If I don't like it, I'm stuck there. And they went like Malaga, never heard of Malaga. Now, all the people in the clubs, they were all talking about Porto Banús and Marbella and all that, you know, but I mean, it was, we've got our villa in Marbella and all the hot, you know, the toffs and all that. I heard Marbella and that, get me on there. Now, I arrived in Malaga Airport in the middle of the night, whatever. I had my own Visa card, which I'd reported stolen, because back in those days, much simpler. You could go 3 months on a spending spree and it wouldn't come up against you.
Right, okay. So see, why did you report the Visa card stolen?
Because I'm going to use it myself.
So why would you use the Visa card?
Because then I'm not paying the bill.
The bill for what?
Everything that I'm spending.
Sorry, see when you said a Visa card, I'm thinking a Visa. A credit card?
A credit card,
right,
Visa.
Okay,
I've reported it stolen.
So, but you're there in Spain, so right, you're in Spain, it can't be him.
3 months you've got before it, you know what I mean? And stayed in the hotel. I stayed in this hotel and I've never sunburned since in my life, touch wood. But not Malaga Palacio Hotel, 5-star. I've just said to the taxi driver, take me to the best hotel. It's got a flat roof with a pool on it. You know, I'm that naive. I'm like, I've seen the cocktails. I thought I was being really gallus and all that. No, Cuba Libre. It's a Bacardi and Coke. You know what I mean? But I'm like, no, I'll have that. I had several of them and I've fallen asleep. And it's maybe 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Now, I've been out there all day. And there was a couple I got talking to, they was from Glasgow as well, and they were saying about going somewhere the next day, and they'd hired a car and did they want to go to some village or something like that, or some resort. They can't get me, so they eventually got the concierge or something. I opened the door to get in, curtains are all drawn. I'm like face down. I've been pissed the night before. You know what I mean? Face down. They'll tap me on the shoulder, and apparently I've got up, but half of my skin is still stayed on the bed. Ooh. I am just like, you know, total like lobster. I've got sunstroke, heat stroke, everything. They had to get like a emergency doctor out because I've been there like for the crack of dawn, right through till 9 or 10 o'clock at night, you know, feeling no pain because it's getting charged on your card, so you're no noticing that it's hot, you know what I mean? I get absolutely nuggets. But that was the last time I ever sunburned, and I went for there in Malaga. There's nothing there. It's just like it's like going to Port Glasgow or something like that. It's a port, but it's not the touristy thing. So the first one down the road was Torremolinos. Then you've got Fuengirola. You got all the way down to Marbella. That's the Costa del Crime. But I just hanging about, and I just staying in different hotels and that, and going out. And you know, obviously you can't draw cash out. So if I say to you, if I knew you after a couple of days, you want a t-shirt? Aye, well, I'll tell you what, that t-shirt you're going, how much is it, 50 quid? I'll get you for 30 and just go in and buy it. Because I'd found out that if you didn't go, say, whatever the limit was then, 100 quid, don't even check it. Because the only way you can get caught is if they phone up. Because they didn't have anything electronic. You had a little clunk click thing, and they've got a book that if they're suspicious. Now, the book gets printed every 6 months or something. So there is no chance you're on that book. So they just check it, the number's no there, and it's fine. Away you go.
Right, I see. So very, very old times. So see, back then it's like, because obviously I don't remember these times, so it was like almost they took a receipt of you using this card and they would like cash it back to like the credit company.
Aye.
Really? Aye. So you really could get a lot of that.
I was just
like
buying.
Nowadays, like if you use a credit card, and it's
like I couldn't go into McDonald's and buy a burger because I had to pay cash.
Aye.
But I could go into the hotel and have a 3-course meal. That's the way it was. But obviously you had to be a bit savvy because people get caught with credit cards. But they would go in. You've got to imagine the shop or the hotel is used to tourists. So if you go in and buy like a fucking hedge trimmer, that's a bit, why is he want to buy a hedge trimmer? You know what I mean? Or you buy, you know, start buying paintings or something like that, or gold watches. You might buy a gold watch, but you start buying stuff that it's kind of obvious that you're just buying it and there's no reason a tourist would buy that. But if you're buying like clothes, you know, perfumes, you know, all the stuff that's dead easy to sell, you know, get in and buy. You want that Armani perfume, that's 50 quid a bottle. There you go, 30. Just take orders and go out and take 5 minutes. And the thing was, after about 6 months, I then sold one of the cards to somebody else for a few grand. And because like people knew about this, there was a girl I knew. I mean, it was dead easy for me. I had my own one, and other people used to try and give us their cards. I'll sell you my card for a couple of £100 and you can use it, and I'll report it stolen and make it back. But you then got to fake the signature. You know what I mean? Whereas I'm signing my own signature. But then this girl we knew, her boyfriend was a postman, and apparently he could tell which letters were Visa cards getting delivered. Right. So he was bringing over like 10 or 20 every month that were unsigned. So although it's got your name on it, like Jordan, I'm signing Jordan, but it's my Jordan. Do you know what I mean? It's my signature because I'm the one that signed it the first time.
Aye.
So I don't have to worry about the signature. I just have to remember what name I'm signing. That's the only thing. Because it'd be John Smith, but it's me signing John Smith. I didn't have to copy
they're
John.
Just comparing the signature you write to the one that's on the card.
So you were getting these blank ones and the guys were selling them for like 500 quid. Now, you go and get that. And even after you've done it for a month or something, 2 months, you're then going to somebody else and they're going fucking away. You get to get out to Gibraltar and stuff like that and stock up. And it's crazy days. And ended up bought into a bar with a mate, and like Marbella was like half an hour down the road, and that was like the, you know, luxury, that's in Torremolinos. But the guys from Marbella, they get bored and want to get away for the wife, and that come up with Torremolinos. And of course I'm there one night, and in comes this group of guys and mates. I'm fucking, they look a bit dodgy. And the next thing they're grabbing me, oh, wee man, how you doing? It's a certain amount of people that I used to know for the clubs in Glasgow.
Right.
So they know I'm there, and they used to come up and just come in the bar and we just lock the doors. You know, they put 500 quid behind the bar or a grand, which is a lot of money. I'd buy the bar nearly. And they'd just sit and drink because they wouldn't get any grief. They wouldn't get that. We'd bring the girls that used to do the PR in. The guys weren't interested, but it just made it a bit nicer atmosphere because they weren't all fighting each other. You know, when there's a couple of women there, you know, and whatever, and that was it, innocent. And then it'd be like, hey, you don't know how to get that, do you? And they'd be having this conversation the same night with another group of guys that I knew that they didn't know. You know, like, and I could put you together with another guy, or, you know what I mean? And it just sort of, I mean, this was the Costa del Crime at that point, you know what I mean? Everybody that you hear about in the films and that's who it was, you know what I mean?
Right, okay.
And, you know, one thing just leads to another, and you're, there was no reason for getting back at it, like that, you know what I mean? It was like, so I was there for, well, a good 4 or 5 years before I got nicked.
Oh, you business owner, give me 30 seconds of your time and I will change your life. Do you struggle with social media? Are you too busy? Or is it just a wee bit too footery? Or have you just started a business and you just don't know where to begin online? Well, Someboy Productions is here to settle your anxiety. We are one of the few businesses that can offer you social media packages that include website design, logo design, flyer and leaflet design with printing, 4K quality content creation, and social media management. That means that we can focus on bringing in the customers and you can focus on keeping them happy. If you'd like to arrange a free consultation where we can discuss the options that we have for your business, and drop us a message. Right, so see at this point, see you said like you paid into to own a bar. See, you started associating with people that are involved in the criminal fraternity as such. So
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Aye.
So at what point did this transcend? Because it's at the start it was got credit card fraud, what it began with. At what point did drugs start to come into the equation? Allegedly.
Well, it always was, because like all the people there that were in the bars, they were all drug smugglers and all that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you know what they did. You wouldn't see them for a fortnight. You know, the low level guys, not seeing low level because they were earning a coin, they would be buying gear. They come over, sign on, get a gyro, get a ticket, come over, have a good few days of living the life. Then, but a day before they go sober because they're going to have to swallow all load of gear. Then they go back, and then you see them a fortnight later.
Right, okay.
And you knew what they were doing, and that's the sort of, you know, the sort of thing me. So obviously knew who they were getting off of, and you knew who they were getting it off of because they would come in different times, or you know, they wouldn't come in to the pub that you were doing, but you meet the guys in the club. You know, you've known somebody's because they know you've been there for more than a fortnight. You know, they're not tourists, and you sort of get you sort of get invited to parties, and you know what I mean. And because most of these people, the Scottish ones anyway, knew me from working in the front door of the clubs. They would have known us at one point or another. So the fact that they know that you don't open your mouth, you know what I mean. There've been situations that have happened in Glasgow where you've no grassed them up for doing something, or you've just had a quiet word, look, don't do that again, like, you know what I mean, to put me in a position. You know, there's this sort of respect there, so you've got that sort of level of trust. And then when you go, and obviously you're not a wee daft boy running about, you know, it's like, at a very early age, you know, I've been mixed with celebrities. I don't mean for my sake, you know what I mean, just the sort of level. I mean, I knew loads of football players when I was a kid. So when you see football players come in, I'm not asking them for the autographs. No, you know what I mean? When I was 4 and 5 year old, you know, like my mum and dad would go to parties and all the Celtic and Rangers players would be there, you know what I mean? So it's never been, oh my God, you play for us, or, you know, in the music thing. I knew all the bands before they were famous, and I played in bands. So if you go and meet somebody, you're not acting like a knobhead. And people, when you go to parties, you're not embarrassing yourself, you know, running about and asking, oh my God, that's so-and-so. You give them their due, but you just like, they're that used to, particularly the sort of less legal fraternity, they're used to all the kiss arsers.
Aye.
And they fucking hate that, you know, and people wanting to be, or they're pulling them up, they might be harder than them, but if you just treat them like somebody normal, and just like, you know, you respect them for what they've done, but you just treat them like, you know, me and you talking now.
It's a two-way street that way.
Yeah, so like,
respect that
you've
as well.
got people respect that you know, you don't ask about them, they don't ask about you. You just get on with things. So that builds up, and you meet other people, and you just gets to the ridiculous stage. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't at that point. It wasn't as big. You didn't have, like, and people go, oh, the big, you know, all these things about the narco traffickers and all that. Look, we didn't even know what narco traffickers were, because at that point we had BBC One, BBC Two, STV and Channel 4. And Channel 4 had just come in. So we didn't sit all day watching gangster programmes. Gangsters to us was Al Capone. You know, or you knew the gangs that cut about your street. You know what I mean? If you knew somebody that was in jail, you know, they'd be the local one that got caught that was an idiot, or you wouldn't be about when the proper ones got out, because they were away for 20 years, and by which time you'd have moved to another scheme, or you'd have grown up. You know what I mean? So you never knew people that
no
had
social
been
media or nothing like that either.
No social media. God, there was nothing. I mean, there was no internet. You know what I mean? You didn't have
mobiles, was there?
No,
mobiles just coming in. The big fucking
mobiles
things
came
that
in.
size.
I got my first mobile when I came back. So I was back in '92, and I was working in living design, doing the sales and marketing for the double glazing, and the mobiles just came in, and that was a brick. It was the best mobile I had, one of them, because you could take the battery out and you could put in like 4 A batteries in it, so you would never run out. So if you were in a hotel at night or something like that, and your phone, you didn't have your charger, you actually take the phone pack out and 4 batteries would go in it. You could buy, 4 normal batteries.
Right, I
and
see.
it was brilliant. That was the best phone ever.
Man.
But those were the things where you had the aerials, and you could start pinging the aerials at people. You know what I mean? The aerial would come at the top.
Aye, or the ones that you had to carry a briefcase with, and
We had them.
the wireless cord.
We
The
had
wireless
them
cord, the
when-
wild cord even.
Had one of them even before I went to Spain, because my mate's dad was a building surveyor, and one of their clients for whatever company he worked for was Raquel Decker
Okay.
in East Kilbride,
Right.
and they were trialling them out, and it was like the site managers would get what you're talking about, like the briefcase and that, and he left it in the car one night, and my mate had borrowed his dad's car, and we're going about. This is 20 years before them do the mobile phone, showing off like we've got, but nobody knew what they were. They fucking, what are those weirdos up to? And I remember when I was going to the clubs with all the guys that are living design, all the sales reps of all the gear and all that. You'd be phoning each other because nobody else had a phone. So you'd be at one end of the bar and they'd phone you just so you could pull it out and impress the lassies. You're like, what is that? Oh, is that a mobile phone? Can I? Thing was, they'd phone their ma, which is costing you about $5 in a minute then. Do you know what I mean? To pose like, oh yeah, you can phone your mum. Oh, mum, I'm on somebody's mobile phone, and it's cost you 25 quid to impress this daft wee lassie you don't even know, by letting them use your phone, because they were crazy. You couldn't get a reception anywhere, and they only did make phone calls. They didn't even have texts in those days. And if you went, halfway down the street, you wouldn't get a signal. Then all of a sudden you get 20 messages at one go.
It's kind of like gift gaff.
Well, it was just crazy stuff.
So see if I can take you back and see. So when you're talking about you're mingling with alleged criminals at this point, you hit the bar, and you became associated with a lot of people that could be alleged traffickers. At what point did you become involved in the mix to a point where that became part of your world?
It wasn't. I was like what we were saying before. It's a very grey area, because I didn't specifically go and say, like, do you want this? I'll sell you that for that. I'd be speaking to you and you'd say, oh, like, by the way, do you happen to know anybody that is wanting to buy an acoustic guitar? I've got one for sale. And then I'd meet somebody that said, I'm looking for an acoustic guitar. All right, well, Jordan's got an acoustic guitar. I'll give you his number.
Right. Okay.
So that's like, but obviously it wasn't always cheap acoustic guitars, and it might not be just the one acoustic guitar. There might be quite a few acoustic guitars getting sold.
Right, I see. Plenty of strings then.
Aye.
So
it's not like driving a van, necessarily running about and loading it. Although I did do those things, but actually just for the adrenaline burst. I was on boats coming across Morocco. I wasn't even paid for it. It wasn't even my gear. It was mates going, "I want to come out tonight," and you're high as a kite. I think you're 20-odd-year-old, and you think, we're going out to Morocco in the boat, and then we're going to come back in the Zodiac. That sounds great. What I don't tell you is the Mediterranean is not very flat at 5 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? And you're going over at 30 mile an hour with a boat that's got half a ton or something on it, and it's no acoustic guitars. and everybody's lying over the sides, going, ah! You know what I mean? But wasn't he getting paid for that? I was just doing it for a laugh.
Really doing it for the buzz. Was there at no point you kind of, did fear never come in, or the fear, right, what happens if I do get caught with all this swag?
No, because at that point I didn't think I was trafficking. That was somebody else's gear. You know what I
Right,
mean? That's how you
So was
justify
that
it.
like a sense of
But you know,
naivety?
you imagine explaining that to the judge.
No, definitely.
Oh, that wasn't my gear. I
just went for the ride.
I just went for a boat trip. You know,
Just went to play the acoustic guitar.
yeah, you know, but you don't think of those things because it goes like what we were saying. It escalates. You're sitting next to the guy that's smoking a joint.
Becomes
And
normality.
It's just normal. Then 10 years later, you're sitting next to, and you're sitting in a house where you know there's 10 kilos or there's 10 ton. It's like, well, if the police come running in just now and you're smoking next to me, that's not my gear. Technically, you could still get pulled. You know, pull you and give you annoyance. But you go to a party later on and the guy's got a load of gear. But you don't think, well, that's not really, you know what I mean? But then you think about it looking back, Jesus, I could have been pulled at that party, you know, or I could have been pulled because I was with you when you were talking to that guy that's wanting to buy the acoustic guitar. Although I've not said you have got to give me 10% of this. Well, explain away that to a judge or a fiscal.
No,
you know,
definitely. Definitely. So, what were the events that occurred that led up to you being eventually charged?
Right. What had happened was a mate was taking some stuff up. Now, he had never dabbled in that thing before, but he's seen all the boys doing it and he thought he would like to get into it and everything and that, and sort of held his hand and introduced him to somebody and that and the next thing. And it wasn't, he's paid for it because he thinks he's going to make money and like, aye, all right, mate, you can try it and that. And circumstances, I would never have been in the car. I'd have been up a week later and picked up the money or whatever. But a mate was having a party and I decided to jump in the motor. Now, at this point in Spain, you're no chance of getting caught. You know what I mean? There's not even a drugs offence in Spain at that point. No, it's like you're only getting caught when you're crossing borders and we're only going up the coast. But at that point, ETA, like the Spanish equivalent of the IRA or the UDA, the sort of terrorist movement, is rife. They're bombing left, right and centre. We hadn't thought of that, so they've got roadblocks everywhere. And basically got pulled at a roadblock. Not for gear or anything like that. And the gear wasn't actually even on us when they actually, because they've told us to pull into the, you know, the sort of, there's the go straight on or they flag you to go into the bit where they're going to stop you and search you, and at that point you're screwed.
Aye.
So between us getting flagged in and actually getting to that point, there's no gear in the car anymore, if there ever was. And like, then the sort of trucks going by in the grass and we just seen something flying out of that car over into that field. So they've all run back, and next thing I know, there's hundreds of like police and everything. It was a great day to do a bank robbery because every police was in the south of Spain was there getting the photographs taken.
Really, aye?
Aye. But the thing was, but they're that busy taking the photographs. My only thing that I didn't plead guilty to and had the chip on my shoulder, I kept saying I'm innocent, was they let the truck driver go. And he's the only one that actually seen it. So when it came to the trial, one of the coppers went up and said he's seen us doing it. Now, I had a court-appointed lawyer, I'm fucking pissed all the time, and I've spent all this time doing diagrams. You know, I've just come out of university and I've got, look, technically we're going at so many mile an hour, there's a dead bend. It's impossible for them to see us. You know, if there ever was any, they couldn't see us doing it. But one of them's lied, you know, because they've screwed up. They've let the guy go away and they're going to lose their jobs. And in fair play to one of the other cops, there was two cops. There was an older one and a younger one. The younger one said he's seen it. And the older one went, tapped on the shoulder. Now, this is a good few years later, and I've learned Spanish then. And the guys went, look, mate, I'm really sorry. It's not the way it should have been done. But you did it anyway. And I went, I know we did it, but he's a fucking cunt. And the guy went, aye, he is. There's a right way and a wrong way of doing it. So the respect to the one cop, he was actually... He went like, you didn't deserve, you did it, but we shouldn't have caught you that way.
Right.
And the other thing as well, I didn't say before, was it was quite strange because what got reported in the newspapers, which was beneficial to us, was about a tenth of what was actually there to start with.
Really? So what got reported in the newspapers?
10.
Kilo?
Aye.
Right, okay.
And it was a 100 kilo bag because it was very... So I was told it would have been very hard to pick that up and throw it out of the car.
So was it 100 kilo that was flung from the car, allegedly?
Aye, allegedly.
In one bag?
Aye. It's a big sports bag. It's just a sport... It's no that...
It's like a shot put.
Aye, it's like...
Oh, right, I see.
It's a soft top car. There's no roof in the car, so it's just like over the driver's head.
Right, I see.
And seeing it was it's kind of unfortunate because it allegedly happened. There was a driver and there was me, so I wonder who threw it. But I couldn't.
Guy in the back, you got off.
Yeah, I wasn't even. I mean, I was just quite cool about it. Mate, the other guy is panicking because we might have just even get through without stopping. But he's like gone. There's no way you can calm him down. He's like, get the fucking stuff out, get the stuff out, and I'm like, I'm like, oh fuck. So there is no choice, it's got to go. And the thing was, I think I mentioned on this, it was quite ironic that everybody was like, you must have been grassed up. No, they didn't put a roadblock in the grassed up, but you know what I mean? But there's one thing that nobody knew about was, because I technically I wasn't sure that this guy was going to give his end and all that, and I was just going up to, hold his hand, but, we think he would have got us a drink or paid for me night out or whatever. But at the same time, I knew one of the Scottish lads that had a place up there, and he was regularly up and down. I said, by the way, you don't need anything dropped off up that way. I says, I'm going up anyway. I said, but what you're going to need to do is, I'm not putting a fingerprint near it. You can go and stick, there's the car keys, go and stick it under the driver's seat. You know what I mean? And so there was actually, apparently, half a K of white stuff under the driver's seat as well.
Right.
Now, that car was impounded for like 2 years, so I was told. It then went back to the hire car company. I think they do it for about 2.5, 3 years. So it was then leased out to all and sundry for 6 months or a year. And then when I got out in Santander, I went all the way back down to Torremolinos and that, met up with the guy in the hire car. I thought, nothing ventured, nothing. You can't add anything on, but I'll just chance it because I never heard anything in the papers. It wasn't in any charges because obviously that would have doubled the sentence. And the guys went like that. I says, I get rid of that car. You can only do it for 3 years and then you lease a new motor. He said, but I tell you who it was. He says, it's like Jimmy the butcher round the corner. He says, he's still all right. I said, it was only about 6 months ago I sold it to him. I'm like, all right. We went round and the Spanish guy, Jose, is like talking to the butcher guy and all. I was like, get the keys a minute. He doesn't know that the car's any day with drugs have been impounded. He's obviously not sold them on that basis. So I've just got the seats and I'm looking under the driver's seat and I'm like, that had been there for like 4.5 years.
So did you go back or did somebody go back and get it?
No, I went back and got it.
You went and got back and got it after you got in
the
jail?
day when I've got like 12 hours left because I'd left Santander and had 72 hours, so I went Santander, Bilbao, Malaga, Bilbao, Madrid, Malaga down to Torremolinos and Marbella and all that, and it's there. And me being honest, I've went and spent 2 hours trying to get the guy that gave me it in the first place. No opened it, nothing. And he's like, I cannot believe that you're even here. Because first thing, you didn't grass us up. That would have fucking killed me. He says, that's yours, man. Fuck's sake, you've done fucking that time. That's fucking your gear. So I can't believe you even thought to give it back to me. You know what I mean? He says, plus, that's miles better than the gear we've got now. The gear's got really shite over the last 4 years. This is the best stuff. And I went, look, I'm flying out and fucking like, by this time it's like 8 hours, the clock's ticking and all. And he's like, fucking there you go. I said, look, I'm going back. If I'm not going to get a passport, I'll get this. He says, look, there's my number in Glasgow. Just phone once you get back and get settled and you get sorted. And did.
Good stuff.
But that was just like, and what I didn't know then, I thought I was going to get my arse felt and everything like, no, I'm going through. I've got a deportation order. I've not even got a passport. It's like the jail thing with a black and white a photocopy of a photocopy, and all it's got over it everywhere is prison, deportation, prison things. I've got all the way. I've travelled like, I don't know, it's about 1,000 kilometres, about 700 miles from Santander, right in the north of Spain, right down to the south of Spain. On my own, got like about 5 different connections, trains, buses. I've spent a night in Torremolinos, an afternoon in Marbella, and then I've got to Malaga Airport. Saying about your guitar taken out of the jail. I had the guitar in a little bag with like a couple of newspapers to read in the plane and my wee songbooks and a couple of cassettes that I'd managed to salvage. And I guess to the desk, and the next thing I know, there is like machine guns and that appearing everywhere. And they've got me in cuffs and that again. I'm like, and do you think I'm going to do a runner? You know, I've just travelled all this way down to Malaga, but it was something to do with the airport security or something like that. And they've taken me didn't even time to go for a pee or anything like that. You know, the minute they've got hold of it, it's like, there's no security. I just get bumbled in a fucking office and that, and they're all like, mm. Next thing, everybody's boarded the plane, and I've got up the thing. They're talking to the pilot at the top of the stairs. He's got to come out of the cabin, sign for us, and the front 3 seats are empty. And I'm like, the dirty bastards, they've taken like my wallet and all my money, watch, everything, you know what I mean, that I had. That's gone, Spanish police, you know what I mean. I've not even got enough of the duty free. Didn't even have time to buy any duty free or nothing. No fags, no booze. And I've not even got enough for a cup of tea on the plane. And I think it was British Airways. And I just went like that to the air hostess, you know, I'm obviously, I shouldn't even get the trolley open. She said, you want in? I said, look, you seen what happened, you know what I mean? I'm not cuffed or anything, like, they're just under the pilot's thing, you know, they just want us out of Spain. And the lassie's like that. I'll never forget it. She's like, oh, but you're first class. You don't pay for in. And the pennies just clunk, clunk, clunk. Large Jack, and, you know, just keep them coming. And that was, well, no pain. And I arrived in Glasgow Airport, and my mum and dad, they only found out I'd been in jail about a month before I got released. They never knew anything about it at all. I didn't tell them, you know what I mean?
Would you be able to go back to the story? Because you missed out that big part when you actually went to jail. Because I feel that's a really interesting
yeah,
we got. Can you take us through when you got sentenced? Because like you did get caught, and then obviously
we got sentenced. I got it was a really incredible sentence because obviously being young, they're wanting to try and like intimidate you and all that, you know, because obviously they're not stupid. They know who you know and who you don't know and all that. And it's like 6.5 years, like. There was guys getting done for 3 ton that got 4 years. But it was like, aye, but we know who you know and all that. And it was like, if you do this, you'll get away. And all that. And it ended up, it was 6.5 years and a fine of 65 million.
Right.
And the 65 million was either you paid that or you did another 6 months on top. Now, like I was saying to you before the interview, Jordan, there's a lot of things that I'd never said to people because they sound that stupid that you just made it up. But this one I can tell because it's actually in the Spanish newspapers. They brought it out again. That apparently in the court, when the guy said you can do 65 million or 6 months, I said I'll do a year and you give me 65 million. Which sounds, that's really cocky and that's really funny. What it doesn't tell you is they took me downstairs for there to the holding cell, and like the guards for the court, they gave me a doing. Then on the way back to the prison, the guards in the security van gave me a doing. Then I got to the prison, the guards in the prison gave me a doing for being cheeky. So it wasn't quite that funny in the end, you know what I mean? But it's like one of those things, who the hell says, you know, in front of the judge? Stupid, young and stupid. And so, like, it was a bit of an eye-opener, you know, 6.5 years is like, you know, I think I'd be about 25 or something like that. It's quite a long term. And the thing was then, unless you were first of all condemned, you just did, if you didn't get your sentence, if you appealed and you never got heard until the last day, you would do the 6 years. There's no redemption. You don't get anything off, well, is it remand you call it here?
Aye.
But you're in remand, you don't get anything off. If you're 4 years on remand, that's you done 4 years. You know what I mean?
Does it count towards your sentence though?
No.
So
It counts towards your sentence, but you wouldn't get...
starts the day you go on remand?
You can start earning extra. Like in Spain, you get half a day for every day you've done. So if you'd actually done 10 years, you would have done 12 and a half. But if you were in remand the whole time, you've only done 10 years. So if you were on remand right up to the day your sentence was ended, you would do the whole sentence.
Right, okay.
But the minute you're convicted or you agree to the sentence, you immediately get half a day for a day if
Right.
you're good.
Right, okay.
So if you got if you get a 10-year and you're convicted in the first year, you would have 9 years getting half a day, so you'd only do like 4.5 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? On top of the first year you've done, so you do 5.5 out of the 10. So the idea is you agree to the sentence as quickly as possible. You want convicted, so you get processed and you're gaining time. And then if you do a job or something like that, you get like a day for a day. So you could get out in a 5 year, you get out in like 2 years or something like that, maybe, if you get sentenced straight away.
Would you get a day back for a day done?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So for every day you done, so if you were there for 5 years,
So if you'd done a year, you'd get a year off?
yeah.
Right, okay. Right, I see.
But normal people get half a year off just for no causing any trouble. It's this sort of thing over you.
Right, okay.
You know, so you don't...
That's what makes you behave?
Aye.
So what was it like adjusting to a Spanish jail?
Because I'd never had any experience, I didn't realise how bad it was until people told me.
Right, okay.
Because you'd never had any experience. We didn't see, like we were talking about, there was nothing, there was no Netflix, there wasn't even Prisoner Cell Block H or anything like that, do you know what I mean? You didn't have a concept of a jail, just that you're a kid, or you're a bad boy, you go to jail. So I thought everybody was like that, and then I'm talking to people, like, lads back home and that, and they've done time over here and that, like that. Oh, it was really bad, you know, I didn't even, a telly, a kettle, you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, I mean, what the hell are you talking about? You know, first, like 2 weeks I was lying in a dungeon, and I actually mean a dungeon, you know, I was getting fed slops out of a bowl that the dogs were eating. The guys were pissing in the water in front of me, you know, before I actually went to the proper prison. And then there, you know, the food was just like, everybody lived on tins, you know, if you had money. You just bought tins of tuna and, you know, tins of cold meat and the bread. Most people would go in, they'd pick up the bread and walk straight out the other door. You know, you get your French stick. And even the ones that didn't want the bread, they would take the bread because you used that for rolling your joints, the paper on the bread.
Oh, did you?
Very convenient. That's like, you know, that was what they used for making their joints. But like, conditions atrocious, but because you didn't know any better, you know, I'm hearing people that did a computer course and all that. What? You know, we'd get up and, you know, people saying about, oh, we only got 4 hours outside. The whole thing about Spain is it's actually a privilege to be in your cell because you're outside the whole day.
Are you, aye?
Aye. I mean, you get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, you open the door, just for the gallery, so you can mix with the 20 guys and your 40 guys in your gallery, you know, you open the doors there. But the main door, then you're downstairs every day at 9 o'clock in the morning with your breakfast. And unless you've got a job, there is nothing inside. You're just on a patio, like school playground. And I seen it the first day and I thought, oh, these are mental. Because everybody's just walking in a straight line, you know what I mean? I'm like, this is one flew over the cuckoo's nest or something. I'm in an asylum. But that's what you do because you're going to be talking to your mates. It's cold sitting down or it's too hot sitting down and you burn your arse in the summer. And you're just walking up and down because you do that because it gives you a bit of exercise and everybody's walking up and down and all that. And I'm just looking at this going, oh, for fuck's sake, you know. But you're outside from 9 o'clock in the morning till lunch is at 1. You went for that to say 1:15. You get 15 minutes with the wee shop to buy a coffee or get your fags, and then you're upstairs like 1:30 till say 5 o'clock. You're back down, straight down for your dinner, and then you got till 7 or 8 o'clock, and you can get locked up voluntarily between 8 and 9. But I could go. You don't share a cell with me, but I could go to your thing and watch your telly or something like that, or play chess with you with somebody that's not in your cell. You can do that, or you're just downstairs till 9 o'clock. So you're outside for 12 hours a day, and that's in the pissing rain and the snow or whatever, or the sun.
Huh?
Yeah. And there's bits of shelter and all that. But I mean, Chet was talking about last week. We were talking about Chet Santu and his thing. He was talking about, I was in. I don't know whether it was the actual chat thing we were having, or whether it was listening to his. He downloaded these thing in Audible the week before and I was listening to it. I remember saying, talking about windows and that, and he went, the windows were cracked and the wind was coming in. I'm like, you jammy bastard, you had fucking windows.
Did you have windows, no?
No, because the windows are like the old sliding things, right, that you can take out. So in the summer, you take them out, you know, and you wet the floor at night so it gives a bit of moisture and keeps it, because it's 40 degrees and it's in the middle of a desert thing, you know, so there's no humidity. But the guy that's maybe been there 6 months before you has sold the windows to somebody that's got broken windows last winter. Now, he doesn't give a shit because he's only there for 3 months, or he's a junkie and doesn't care what happens tomorrow. So he's sold these windows to somebody. When it comes to winter, now they don't go in and do a window check when you take it. You don't do it. It's not like renting an apartment when you sign I had a table and chairs and 2 cups and all that when you get moved into the cell. You're like, hey, I've got no windows. What did you do with them? I didn't fucking do anything with them. Party. you know, like a letter against your name, like, you know, I don't know what you call it, you know, a black mark.
Aye, like a strike.
Aye, basically
Or
a
report as
strike
such.
for not having windies. I said, man, I never had windies. Oh, you should have said. I didn't know, you know what I mean, when I moved in, you know, you didn't need to ask me to check, did I have windies, you know what I mean? And it was stuff like that. And like with the thing about the being good and, you know, getting half a day for a day, I had this chip on my shoulder because I did do it, but it was just the way that they caught us. I had this chip on my shoulder that, you know, I was innocent. Of course I wasn't, but as far as I was concerned, you know, they did wrong. I wouldn't even mop the floor. So, stupid idiot, I'm not even getting half the day for the day. And because I couldn't speak English at the start, all they understood was me saying, oh, fuck off, and all that. So that got a slap, you know, they let everybody else out. And the thing is, it's so stupid. There's 40 cells or something like that in each gallery. You've only got to clean the gallery. It takes you 2 minutes. Once every 40 days. Muggins, no. I'm not cleaning it. I'm fucking innocent, you know what I mean? Stupidity. Not only am I losing the time, I'm getting a batter as well. Just because, no, it's bad enough you got me in here, you know what I mean? And of course, the minute you speak the language, they can understand, you know, but if you just tell them to fuck off and all that, you know, and no cleaning the floors and all that sort of stuff, you're just public enemy. And that went on. When the band thing came about, I was a fluke. Somebody wanted me to help out because I started to learn Spanish and I took it up really quickly, you know what I mean? I was pretty good at it. Obviously, you go to uni, you learn how to learn things, you know what I mean? It's, and somebody had asked me to go in because I was doing for the Spaniards, because a lot of Spaniards, even now, but worse than those days, the older ones, they couldn't read or write. So I'm writing out their forms for them, because in Spain it's very demeaning, because for anything you want you have to do this thing called an instancia. I don't know if you have that in the UK. It's like, for anything you want, I want a pair of shoes. You have to write a letter to the governor, but it's got to be worded a certain way. It's got to be your honourable directorship, your worshipfulness, you know, could you please give this worthless person the benefit of your thing?
Is that really the part you had to use, aye?
Yeah. And you have to do
So
it that way.
It's bumming up his ego, but also demeaning
Yeah,
the individual
it's like
as well.
that. You've got to write it all like that, you know, or you don't get it. And in Spain, anybody that speaks Spanish will know what I'm talking about. In Spain, they've got two ways of saying I, me and you. You've got single person like me, or you've got one like, you know, the royal one.
Aye.
And to this day, it's not like an old thing. If you don't know somebody, you call them usted instead of two, which is you. It's like one, would one like this or one like that. Now, that's not just for like meeting somebody, you know, the Lord Provost or something. That's for everybody you don't know.
Right.
It's just a thing in Spanish culture. If you don't know somebody, it's usted. It's a... They don't have the equivalent in English. It's like, with one like this, it's very formal. But if you don't know somebody, it's an insult if you don't call them that.
Right, okay.
So I spoke fluent Spanish, but I was still calling the people too, which is like, see you, Jimmy.
Aye.
So, you know, the guards... But because I was a foreigner, I could get away with it, but everybody else was pissing themselves laughing. Because if they didn't say usted, they would get a slap, you know what I mean? But because I could, I didn't learn that part in English. No, I didn't learn that bit. You know, but I mean, they knew exactly. So I'm just giving them a fucking dig, you know, annoying them. But I was doing the school and things like that, and suddenly, like yourself with the guitar thing, somebody came in and said they were going to do this guitar thing. And it was like a zoo. There was all the jippos that have all come in. None of them can play
Was it
guitar.
like a music class?
There was supposed to be, and they got, like, somebody had gifted like 6 guitars or 10 guitars, and all these jippos had heard about it, and they're all coming in giving it bang, bang. It's like more like drumming than, you know, they couldn't play a note, but they're getting the guitars and they're grabbing them off people. So that lasted about 10 minutes, and all the jippos are trying to steal the guitars and all that. And the wee woman that was in charge of it, like, you know, we'll forget about the guitar class. And it so happened that there was a Spanish guy who's like a well-known jazz guitarist, but he had a music college, but he also, the other part of it was an English college, because he spoke fluent English, so he had like his own business, which was half of it was music classes and half of it was English classes. So he happened to be passing by, seeing the guitars and all that, and he sort of heard me just fiddling about with it. I was the only one that actually was bothering to tune it and all that. And he went, "You actually play the guitar?" And I went, "I know, in years, like, you know, let's see." And he went, "That's actually no bad." And he went, is there anybody else that can actually play the guitar? And I knew there was a guy in the kitchen that played guitar. I'd seen him a couple of times because he'd be working all day and maybe just at the last break at 8 o'clock at night when he finished in the kitchen, he'd be out and he'd be playing somebody's guitar or whatever. Oh, yeah, he can play. I think he's no bad. He said, well, hang me. Are you going to be here next week? I think so, you know what I mean? He said, well, I'm here every Wednesday or whatever it was. Like, I'll get a couple of guitars or whatever brought in and we'll see if we can sort some. So he got the guy out of the kitchen and he wasn't interested at first because he's like getting a day for a day and he doesn't want to miss out on that to go and play fucking guitar. But he convinced them and they'd heard us playing and that, and then got somebody that played bass or whatever, somebody. My best mate was a guy, he was like French mafia. His uncle was like the head Marseille mafia. He was a really sound guy. He was there, and he might still be there because he couldn't tell him his real name. Because no matter what Spain was doing to him, what would happen when he went to France under his real name would be 10 times worse.
Why's that?
Because, like, if he knew who he was, he's got whatever waiting for him in France.
Right.
While he's in Spain, he's only Joe Bloggs. They can only hold him for, like, you've got 2 Arctics, a hash. You know what I mean? But him being the nephew, the heir to the Marseille Mafia, he's going to get bad in France, you know what I mean?
Right.
So he couldn't even tell him who he was. But one of his lorry drivers, the young guy, Michel, he said he was the drummer because my intention was to get Joel, he's not his real name, out as like singer or something like that, you know what I mean? But they just wouldn't let him go anywhere. But this Michel, his driver, he said, oh, you could play drums and that. So from not having guitars, we literally played a couple of things on guitar. Next week we've got like 2 electric guitars, an electric bass, but the speakers are like the hi-fi speaker that was used in the cinema, another speaker that was used for the sports events, you know, it's mix and match, you know, nothing matched, and playing. And they've decided that we are going to play, it's the Women's Day and the Women's Module on the Sunday, and they'd ordered drums but they hadn't arrived. The drums apparently arrived on the Saturday night and all the guards were having a great time with them on the Saturday night, batting the shit out of them. We've went out to the women's thing. I've never played drums or anything like that, but Adrian, the other guitarist, he actually could play drums. They put it together. I'm going, like, Michelle, like, I thought you played fucking drums. And he went, aye, I played my mate's drums years ago. I'm like, aye, all right. But he got out, so it was like, you know, we're not going to dump him in it, but he couldn't play drums. It ended up, most of the time we played or we recorded, the other guitarist was doing it. But we went, and I remember we played like 3 songs, and it was, one was Europa by Santana, the guitar instrumental thing, because you can play that for hours. Second one was La Bamba and Twist and Shout, because you can go for La Bamba and Twist and Shout, and there was all the kids there, and they wanted us to do a song that I'd written. So I had to write this song, show Adrian on it, but because Adrian's playing the drums, it doesn't really matter. The bass player can just say to him like that, and we're playing. So first concert we've done, it's 3 songs, 1 original. But this was only meant to be to the open day for the women where they can bring their kids in and the families. But because it's an open day, they got a programme called Chickalandia on the telly, which is like Saturday Morning Live or something like that. You know, the kiddies programme like Ant and Dec. So there's a man there filming it, and all day there's been all the social workers filming with their video cameras and all that. Remember the old video cameras you had, the Amstrads, 300 quid, filming that, and there's no phones or anything like that to film things. So we didn't think anything of it, that this other thing here is you get a proper camera. We were actually went out on the Sunday afternoon live on, like, it's no Saturday Morning Live, it's Sunday morning kiddies programme at 11 o'clock on national telly, unbeknown to us, playing 3 songs. But we never heard about it. It had been on later on the news thing instead of the kiddies programme, because the kiddies programme was just about the kiddies, you know, and the band's playing in the background. But then somebody thought, that's quite newsworthy, you know, prison band playing. So it's went on like the STV news at like 6 o'clock on Sunday night. And then it's went on nationally. By the time we went down and had our lunch on the Monday morning, it was in the national news and the lunchtime news. Because we'd come in out of the thing, mate, you go for the kitchen, the Commodore, the restaurant bit, with the canteen. You're walking out straight into the TV room, and as you're walking out the TV's like, we're looking at all the guys pointing at us, like, going, fucking hell, we're on that. You know what I mean?
They come into the jail to film it?
Aye.
Did they, aye?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
did they get access?
Because, like, the women's module is, like, sort of like the open prison. It's not fully in the jail. Each sort of, you go through a level of security. So you've got the gate, then you've got the offices kind of thing, and then the women's module is not the same as the mate. It's kind of in a different level. It's like circular. You go in, the further in you get, the more gates you go.
Uh-huh.
So they didn't have to go through that much. And obviously the prison's loving the publicity. You know what I mean? So they just come in with their van and all that. Van straight into the thing, the van's filming, they're filming. I've got the video of it somewhere, I've got VHS of it. Mm-hmm. Somebody sent me it years later. And that went to that. Now that was, you can actually see it on the website, how quickly things went. That was the Sunday. The next thing, and it's within something like 10 days, we got this thing to play on the top 40. And we played 3 songs live, so I've had to write another 2 songs to play on the top 40 on the top 40 show. And that was actually in the open section of the prison. Now, I'm not convicted. I should not be anywhere near there. You know what I mean? It's totally, no way. They found a way. And it was funny because the guys that had done the Czechoslovakia programme, they'd sort of jokingly saying, I will be seeing you again, and having a laugh in that, and I wasn't speaking, it was the other guitarist, I didn't speak any Spanish still. And they're having a laugh and sort of saying, I bring us in a couple of drinks and all that, because you can't ask them for drugs, but a couple of drinks. So when we went out to the open prison, the guys have brought in their camera case or something like, it's not going to get done for, you know what I mean? Everybody in Spain drinks, you get a brandy in your coffee in the morning and all, it's not a big deal. Mm-hmm. They brought in a couple of wee miniatures and all that, so, playing 3 songs and having a couple of swallies. And so we went from the TV programme to that, the top 40, doing 3 songs, to then we were live on another radio show, we lit 5 songs. And this is in the space of about 3 weeks.
How did it blow up so much? Why was there so much public interest in it?
The guy I was saying about that DJ, he came in on his first one, he covered the open one, because there's a news cutting of it and that stuff that I showed you, and it's on, I don't know if it's on the website, but we've got it. And he's done his thing, photography, the women's thing, and it's like, Jailhouse Rock or whatever like that. And that's get picked up. He's only done it in like the equivalent of the Barhead News. Mm-hmm. That's his job, and he works for Radio Clyde. Uh-huh. However, that got picked up for whatever reason, and the Daily Record's picked it up, and then the Daily Mirror's picked it up and ran the same story. Mm-hmm. And obviously he's reported it on Radio Clyde. But the next time we're playing, Radio 1 is not going to send somebody down, so they've said to the guy, look, you covered that, will you do a report for us for Radio 1 or for Channel 4 News or whatever? Because we're not going to send somebody down from Madrid to where we were. Mm-hmm. So that was this guy's big break as well. And obviously, like, it's a good story, you know what I mean? And it was the fact that, they've got the Scottish guy, singing in English, who's a convicted drug trafficker. They've just won. They put us in for a radio thing because they didn't think we'd win it in a million years. Neither did we. We weren't even expecting to get out. We thought that the guys would be able to get a couple of requests in and talk, say hello to their kids and all that, and that was it. But we won it. And then because the prison's been putting out press releases about how they're rehabilitating us, they're in a position where they can't really say, well, we're not letting them out to play the show because they're in the finals of we've won like the Heat, to go into the national finals of the thing. I'm not convicted yet. It's impossible. I'm there. Right? Mm-hmm. And we'd done one rehearsal before it, been out twice. I'm not even convicted. I am not allowed to leave the prison.
So what was the reception by like the prison officers as such when you were getting this attention and you were
half
getting
and
this?
half.
You could say special treatment.
Half and half, because as I said to you, this is not long after Franco died and all that, and Spain wasn't in the common market. So half of the jail is old style, you know, you're in prison, bread and water and breaking rocks and all that, you know what I mean? And the other half's, you know, like just out of university and they want to rehabilitate you and they're social workers and all that, you know what I mean? But unbeknown to us, because this is when I started learning Spanish and I had to learn it really quickly. There's a battle going on and we're the cause of it.
Right, I see.
Because
But
like
between the prison officers?
aye,
Right,
because half of them love it and they're coming along in their breaks and that, because like we did the thing on the Sunday, it only took about 2 days till they found us. They put us in like the cinema in the prison. It's not a cinema, it's like an auditorium that's in the middle of everything, so all the modules can go in there if they're having whatever, they're having meetings or whatever, just a space. So we're in there straight away. So the director's on our side, but the assistant director and the treasurer, whatever they call it, the guy that's in charge of the money, they're old school. They hate everything that's going. Because the first time we played, I remember it, we got 1,500 pesetas. Is it 1,500? No. 15,000. Remember it was about 15,000, because you get 15,000, 75 quid. Now, you could only get 30 quid, 6,000 out a week out your peculiar, and that's in a plastic card. No matter how much money you got, you get sick. So 15,000 is a lot of money. They gave us that like straight away. See, after that, the sort of, what do you call him, the bursar or treasurer, he was always, have you given them that money? The next time we played for the top 40, it was so funny, they couldn't pay us, so we got the training shoes that you got for free anyway, that you had, but you had to put in one of these instances. Dear worship, I've got nothing on my feet. I'm walking about barefoot. But you gave us, so they gave us a pair of trainers each, but then they gave us these tracksuits. They gave us like Nike or whatever tracksuits, and we had to agree not to wear the tracksuits the same day. Like you wear yours on a Monday and you wear yours on a Tuesday. Otherwise, we're going to walk down like the Jackson 5 or something like that, all wearing the same tracksuits and the same trainers. Imagine it.
I know, it'd be funny, man. Jailhouse Rock Band. All matching uniforms and that.
And it caused, I didn't realise it until afterwards how much was going on behind the scenes. You know, like, it was their own making, because they were punting us up to everything, you know, getting all these awards for rehabilitating prisoners. You know, like when we did the top 40 thing, there's an audience of about 100 people. Now, 20 or 30 are guards and social workers are off duty, or the nurses and all that, you know, MD that's passing. You've got maybe 20, 30 are press. But then you've got the local governor, the local head of the council, the head of the fucking minister of this, the minister of that, everything like that, all down. And they're all writing their wee pieces and taking their photographs with the band and all that, you know, and you know what I mean? So they caused their own stuff. So when we won the competition with the song, they can't turn around and say you're not getting it. You know, they had no choice. And that's when I caused myself a lot of the problems, because we knew we had them over a barrel. Then we're going out and I'm like, you know, oh no, I'm not going out unless I have a shower to a radio show. Now, you only turn on the hot water, I think I told you this, between like 11 and 12 every day. So if you don't have a hot shower then, you can have a cold one anytime you want. But so we've got to go and get ready for the radio show at like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. So it's 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm not going out unless I have a shower. No, but you're booked to go on the radio. Aye, but I'm not going out unless I have a shower. You can't have a shower. Got to run up and see, no, but he's causing all this. And this is causing havoc, you know what I mean? And it's just me getting my dig in. And they eventually had to turn on the hot water, the whole prison, turn on the whole fucking prison water so I could have a shower. What the funny side of that, I was, oh, what a great laugh. They didn't tell you later on that night, you get the shit kicked out of me, you know what I mean? For like, you'll not do that again.
No, really, so they were still kind of trying to...
Aye, you know what I mean?
Your punishment.
But because you're taking the piss out of them, but it was just me. You know how you can't help yourself? You know, we get that devil side in you, you know, and you just want to get your own back no matter what the hell.
That rebellious side of
you. Yeah, you screw the consequences, you know, I was going to give them one over. It's like when we went outside to play illegally, it's bad enough that the director is like signed for this himself or something, because there's no way we're going through that gates me. All the other ones are, they're convicted, you know, they're getting out in day release and things like that, go and see people and all that. I'm not even convicted yet. And I'm going out the gate. And I'm like, so they've been used to having their fingerprints taken and all that. I just remember the first time getting it, the guy nearly broke my hand and all that, you know, and this is like 2 years or 4 or something like, since I came in. And I'm like, taking my fingerprints, they're like, you're not going out. And I'm like, fucking all right. Well, I'm not getting all that on my fingers. I'm going to play guitar and all that. And they're like, you're mental, I didn't think stupidity that it was I'm endangering the other guys, their freedom, you know what I mean? I'm just like, no, you're not going, it's bad enough. You want me to come out and play it, we do it in my terms, you know what I mean? I don't fucking need you. Idiot. Again, they let me out. However, they think I just took more photos or something like that. But I wasn't going anywhere. I was chained to somebody anyway until we get, to this. But again, came back, and I got a couple of slaps for that one as well, But some of the things that I never thought they were anything of it because we'd no experience of it. It was only last year when I'd come back, and you seen the thing I did with Ian Henderson, Hendo, come back then, and that's when the interest had started back in Spain. And because it had been in the newspapers, a couple of the old social workers had got into contact and we'd arranged to meet. And they were like, do you get any photos and all that? And the newspapers kept asking if we get any photos. So, although I was in Glasgow for, I think, 48 hours when I met Hendo and that, it was like a mad 48 hours. And it was literally as we were going out the door, oh shit, I was meant to grab photos. And I had a bag of stuff with Spain. Now, I hadn't opened that since the day I got back. Because when you get discharged, you don't read through the things. You're just glad to get out. You don't look at that. It gets filed away just in case. And I'd never really looked at it in my life. And plus, when I got charged, I couldn't read Spanish anyway. Or, you know what I mean? I brought them over, and these guys up at my flat, there's about 8 of them, 4 guys and 4 the girls that worked in it up, and we had a couple of drinks, and they're looking through the paper, and they're like that. Oh my God. I can't believe this. There's a fake passport in my name that somebody has made a passport out. There's extradition letters. They didn't know I got extradited. They had just heard that I was there one day and I was gone the next. Mm-hmm. And they actually get told, and I couldn't believe this, I thought it was a wind-up. They get told that my dad had won the lottery. Now, there wasn't even a British lottery at that point. So, I don't know what. He had won the pools of the lottery and paid my 65 million fine. And that's why I had disappeared overnight. When in reality, I was in Madrid in a maximum security jail.
Right, so see if you can take it back a wee bit. So how did this come about? Like, you were on remand. How long did you spend on remand?
Basically, most of the time.
Most of the sentence. So at what point did you get your sentence?
I appealed. I got my we got sentenced. We got the sentence after about a year, but I immediately appealed it.
Right, okay.
And it went up to the
higher court. So if you appeal a sentence, you're back on remand?
Yeah, you just stay on remand.
Okay.
And the thing is, in Spain, there's no, I think you call it consecutive sentences here, because like the wee guy that was the bass player, he was like an armed robber, and the thing was, you get out, you get nicked, you get processed a lot quicker to Spanish. You appeal it, so it goes up, and you can keep it up in Madrid for years, but it's coming down eventually. So he's getting a sentence of 10 years, he appeals it, gets back out, gets caught again, gets another sentence of 10 years, appeals that, comes up, and everybody's like that. So it's not like you've got one 10-year sentence. That could be 10 times 10-year sentences, because you've done 6 months on remand, get out while you're waiting your appeal. Do another one, get another 10 years, you get out again, appeal, and you've got 100 years waiting. And it all comes down one day, you know what I mean?
So do you get released on like, interim bail?
Aye.
So how did you not get released? Whilst you were appealing it?
The other guy got a hangman, but I was considered.
So long did he eventually get?
He got out. He was a Spanish resident at that time, although he was British. And his girlfriend was a lawyer, not a criminal lawyer, but a divorce lawyer, but up in Madrid for a very good family and all that.
Right.
And they do have like intelligence, you know what I mean? I know it sounds like a misnomer, like police intelligence, like they had their own networks and that, and like he was just never done anything like that before, you know what I mean?
So did you get a lesser sentence?
No, he got out on bail, went away, like a gambler, tried to double it up without MD's help, tried to do the same thing and got caught again.
You're joking. We're doing the same thing?
We're doing the same thing, but he got out on bail and got caught again within the space of a matter of weeks. And then he got out on bail again and fucked off. Gone. So he never did.
Fucked off or disappeared?
Aye. And I never time since, you know what I mean?
Right, I see.
Because what I heard was like, this guy that was with us, he was like, keep fit guy and straight as anything, you know what I mean? Wouldn't he drink, wouldn't he smoke? And he got out after a few months, right? I'll look after you, I never fucking heard a thing like everything. It doesn't happen like in the films. Nobody pays your wages and sends money to your family. You know, you're not used to them, they forget you. But I heard through the grapevine he get done again in Malaga, and he was doing time in Malaga. But I heard when he got out, the guy that was the keep fit hanging out because he'd done hanging, he was like fucking mad drugs and fucking hangman, and he got out and he thought he was a gangster then because he'd done a couple of months and he was running Dane Charlie and running about in Daft, and it was an advert to get caught, you know what I mean? So you get caught straight away again and then just disappeared or whatever, I don't know. Never heard of it again. No doubt probably, when he sees it, I'm surprised I didn't get a call when he seen us in all the papers and that, you know, by the way, I'm a guy that was looking after you.
Either that or somebody made him disappear.
Well, there was a lot of that going on in those days.
Right, I see, I can imagine, because back then it can be done, especially in a place like Spain, because you look at that boy, it's a bit of a different scenario, but that boy's went missing, it just shows they can make you disappear.
Aye, and especially in those days, because most of the people weren't even there officially in the first place. So they didn't know you were there. You didn't get, you get a stamp in your passport, when you go in. But you don't always get a stamp in your passport. You can go down to Gibraltar and then fly out of Gibraltar into Manchester and come back in again, so you've never left the country, So people genuinely did disappear.
Aye.
But from what I can gather, it was nothing as bad as it is now. Because, see, in Spain, it was like Glasgow in the 50s and 60s, it was old style, respect. The women and children walked down the road in the middle of the gang fight. The gangs would part and let the women walk past in their pram. Then they start messing about with each other with swords again. It was like that in Marbella. Innocence. If you were like a tourist on your holiday, these guys wouldn't come in and annoy you, wouldn't menace you, or you were a normal bar owner, they wouldn't come in and ask you for protection money. You know what I mean? It was like the gentleman gangster type thing, old school. But by the time I came out, and when I went back to Spain, there 6 years ago, it's like Marbella's like, the Wild West. The guys on motorbikes just driving past and they'll Uzi the whole street to get one guy. No, I care. It's like Eastern European mafia and things like that, and all sorts.
It's wild. It's like that a lot of places now, man. They can't give a fuck. I think it's drugs is a big party and just morals.
I seen that thing in Liverpool when they were all going out with shooters and all that, you know what I mean? And the whole time I was in Glasgow, I've seen the guns a couple of times, you know what I mean? It just didn't exist. I remember somebody coming up and showing me a gun and that they were going to go and do something, and I'm like, have you tried it? And there's two of you doing it, which one are you going to shoot? They hadn't worked that out. They just got a gun because, it was the thing to do. Which one are you going to shoot it? Oh, right. Have you tried it yet? How do you know it works? And they're not wanting to look stupid. And I'm like, are they the right bullets? I said, you don't even test for it. Oh, no, it was like 50 quid for the gun and 20 quid a bullet, so we're not going to waste the bullets. And I'm like, oh, my God, this is fucking it. But the thing is, that gun has probably been used in 10 murders before.
Aye.
So if they get caught with that, and they were only going to give somebody a warning, they're getting done for 10 murders, and the guys don't even know how to shoot a gun, and they could get liable, and that's how bad it is in Glasgow. And the other thing was, when I came back, I could not believe the whole heroin thing, because, I worked in clubs, and, at an early age, we were doing, it's an alcohol culture in Glasgow then. You went out and get a bottle of wine, Old England sherry and down the park, and that was it. There'd be one guy in like Barhead or something like that, a hippie guy, and maybe he smoked joints. Because the ones that went to uni didn't come back to Barhead. No, they stayed in the West End of that then, you know what I mean? So you never seen people rocking about with joints and that in the late 70s, 80s. And when I was in the clubs, speed, coke. When I was a student, everybody had like acid tabs and blotters and stuff like that. Oil. Never knew one person in Glasgow, and I was 21 when I left, and I'd worked in clubs, I'd worked in the students' unions. I never knew one person that did heroin. Right? Add 10 years take 10 years away from me, people I know that are 10 years younger than me, and they're talking about, the whole scheme's gone to that, and everybody's doing heroin and that. When I came back, I was walking about Barhead Main Street, and I went into the chemist to get something, and there was a queue. Innocent me minding my business, I've joined the queue. but there's no queue at the actual pharmacy desk. I didn't realise that was the methadone fucking queue. I'm standing there and they're like, no, son, you're not there. But see the people I seen in that methadone queue? It was people I knew. It was like people I knew from school, people that worked in the bank or in the police. You know what I mean? It wasn't the junkies that were standing in that methadone queue in, like the Monday morning. I'm like, that just never. You know, there was no heroin at all. Yet the first time I seen it was like in the jail and there's people dying from it, like lying
Was
about.
that in Spain? I heard it was really bad in Spain. What was the kind of, see, you say at first you didn't have really any experience of jail, so to you that was just normal. Was there at any point whilst you were in that Spanish jail you realised, wait a minute, this place is fucking mental?
Well, because I'd been, like the other guy I was with, he got mollycoddled and got straight to the jail, and they were trying to get stuff out of me and wind me up and all that, and because I was probably baiting them and calling them cunts and fucking whatever, you know, they took great pleasure in keeping me as long as they could, which in those days you can keep you for 72 hours with this, but if they add on this, they can keep you for another 3 days and add on this, so they weren't doing anything absolutely abnormal. No consulate or anything like that, you know, I mean, never seen him for about the first month, and when they did see me, I'm black and blue. But the consulate didn't care. You must have deserved it. You know what I mean? You must have been cheeky to those guards. What? But the guards the whole time, because like they were giving me shite and they were pissing in the water and just kicking the shit out of me. So there wasn't, after that, there wasn't much more you could do to me, so I really didn't give a shit. But they kept like, you know, they didn't speak any English, I didn't speak Spanish, but they could get across, you're going to get your arse fucked, you know, fucky, you know, fucking you get them. And didn't go with anybody else. The first time I seen another prisoner, there's like the bus and not they're all getting out and all that. And you get processed reasonably quickly because it's not like first grade, second grade, third grade, you're all chucked out in the same patio. But I'd sort of heard, you know, and I got the gist of like, you know, you're going to get sorted when you get there. You know what I mean? And what I found out quite rapidly afterwards, look, your first minute there, your whole life is decided in that first minute, because you're either like, you know, I don't mean a giver, a taker or that sort of sense, but you know, there's levels, you know what I mean?
You find out whereabouts in the food chain, yeah.
And again, there's a lot of, I'm not claiming to be some hard guy, I've had some really good luck for, you know, the universe has looked after me, because I've come out, I've looked like an extra from Braveheart. I used to get it goes silver now if this end comes, but it was red, bright red, and it was away out here. I've been in a dungeon darkness, so my eyes are like, and I've come out, you know, I wouldn't like to meet me, and I probably smell like fucking, God knows, I'm covered in shite and blood and fucking what. And this big Moroccan who's about 6'4", he was the French guy's bodyguard, who was my bodyguard later on as well. He's come over, the French guy's heard there's another European, you know, he's got his guys getting paid off, you know, there's another guy drug trafficking coming in, so he's sent the guy, he said come over here and sit with us, you know, before him gets it. I've just seen this guy lurching over to me and I'm like, well, I'm fucking having you, and I just fucking cracked him. Now he's got his arms open to give me a hug, and I've got a sucker punch, cracked him, and I cracked him a fucking beauty. So years later, this big guy would be sitting beside us, you know, like, go, fucking look at it. Joel's like 6'4", he's 6'4", and I'm 6 foot, but this guy's a big thing here. Who the fuck did that to you? And he's go like him. And they didn't tell the story that I got a cheating punch on him. You know, it was like, you know, he wasn't expecting it.
So what did they do?
He just bit his lip and just and because he was like Joel's bodyguard, he couldn't exactly. Joel's told him to go and bring this guy over, so he can't smack me back, can he? You know what I mean? It's like, he's just like fucking, but he reminded of us a few times. This guy used to bench press like fucking 500 kilos. He's a brute, you know what I mean? But I just went like bang, and the guy's just like, what the fuck, you know? I'm here to buy. Somebody's come over that spoke English. No, you know. But I mean, you're that psyched up. You're getting told somebody's going to batter you, and you're. It was very lucky because there's other guys you've seen coming in that didn't know MD, and you know, all the jippos and the fucking this, taking their money off them and taking their clothes off them, and you know, they end up stripped bolt naked because come in with nice clothes and that, you know what I mean? And somebody will just take it off them, you know what I mean? That any money they'll just take off, you know, and it's like, shit, there for the grace of God goes I, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Because you don't know in, or you're fighting straight away. I mean, I get stabbed within first or second week.
Really? What happened?
Because me and Joel were, I mean, this was funny because Joel, could only speak French. He didn't speak Spanish either, and I did French at school, and we could both speak a couple of words in Spanish, so we're translating through third people about, you know, different things. But I've been in the Economato queue, the queue for the coffee. Now, normally we had a muchacha, like a slave. You get a wee guy that runs a bit for you and gets your coffee and that, because they get a free coffee, or they give them a fag because they've got no money. So not we had guys doing that, but there was an American guy that worked in the Economato, Manny, an American guy, and I was wanting a word with him because he was trying to get something sorted with him. So I actually went up to get the coffees myself, and the fucking Jippo cunt, he's like, fuck off, you know, trying to hang me in. You know, I've got Joel in that, you know, I'm no fucking bothered, you know, plus I'd handle them myself, but you back down any sign of weakness. But they're that used to all the, you know, the guys that they're just in blue collar, that they just fucking hang me them in. They're nobodies. But if you back down, then they'll come back and take your finger, take your arm, take your, you know what I mean, before long your life's no. But I just told this guy to fuck off, right? So thought nothing of it, and whatever it was, I was trying to get hold of Manny again. I'm in the queue, and next thing I felt somebody, like, it wasn't even like a punch. It was not even as hard as that. And I'm like, what the fuck? And the next thing, the guys have ran over, sorting it out, and I've looked down, and it's like, the thing, I'll show you if you want to see it on camera, it's just a little scar, but it's what they call a pincho. It's like a kebab thing. That was what they could get, like a wire. Something that had a wire, you know what I mean? But the guys, you know, it's probably about week 2 or 3. My Spanish is getting a little bit more conversational. Joel's picked up a bit as well, so we can, I mean, and they're all hospital. And I'm like, no fucking way. They're going to ask questions, you know what I mean? This is not a good thing. So this was like just before lunchtime, though, the coffee after we've had our lunch. So I'm upstairs 2 hours in the cell. And I've come down, I'm starting to feel a bit woozy. And the guys, but we still can't communicate correctly. And so I went up that night, and then the next day I can't even move. When they opened the things at 8 o'clock in the morning, Joel's in a different gallery from me, so he can't. And eventually somebody's like called the medical thing, because I'm way gone. What had happened was, like, what they do, because if they don't hit a vital organ, what they're doing is they put the pincho, the skewer, in rat shit, right? Right. So you're getting like bubonic plague or whatever. So I get taken out, and if I hadn't been taken to the hospital, there's a fairly good chance I would have died. But I was like 48 hours in the hospital. Now I'm dying. They've got me chained to the bed. And I got like a warning for no telling them, no grassing up who did it. And they're interrogating me, and the nurse is like going, the guy's dying, but they've got you chained up, you know, as though you're going to go anywhere where, like, you know. And they're giving me all like antibiotics and all sorts, you know, I mean, really, really bad. But it's like another one of the things that was quite fortunate, you know what I mean? But that was it. While I was in there, the guy that did it got sorted out.
Did that happen quite quickly then, I take it?
Aye, but he got off very, very, and it sorted out. Joel basically ran the prison for then on, because the guy that did it, apparently, I found out more the more I learnt Spanish, because the Jippos were into all the heroin and all that, and all the hash. Joel didn't want to deal with the heroin because it was too much hassle collecting, because they're all fucking wasters and they never get any money. They were always getting an excuse but no money. Mm-hmm. So the guy that had done me apparently was the nephew of the head Jippo, like the king of the Jippos. Now, he'd lost these 2 sons either in knife fights or heroin abuse, and he lost this and lost that. And the only one he had left was his nephew. And he actually told Joel, he says, like, no, basically you can kick the fucking shit out of him, because, you know, you've got to be seen to doing something. But if you don't hang me him, if you don't kill him, we'll give you can do whatever you want, and, you know, we will not bring any gear into that module with you. So that was like the start of a business.
Not the same.
And they've done that while I'm wasted. You know, they've gave the guy a right good slap, and they've taken
that stab in the sides ended up a business investment.
Aye, and then that led to, because it became like, you wouldn't know, but your mum or maybe your granddad, radio rentals. We became radio rentals because you could fill in one of those wee forms and get a tiny telly, but you weren't guaranteed it. And then when you left, you couldn't take it, you know. So we'd acquire these, people would owe us money and we'd acquire 10. We'd fucking about 50 tellies on the go. And they were what? It was 500 pesetas, which is like £2.50, I think.
Right.
But you were allowed 30 quid. You were allowed 6,000. So 500 is a 12th a year. It's half a day's money for you. You know what I mean? So it was, but you have that, you're 50 then. You know what I mean? That's a nice wee income. It's not saying it's totally legal, but that's like, and it's a business that keeps, me and Telly started going, we'd rent them into other modules because I was allowed to move about for free. Because I was playing the band, I'd be going between that one and that one and that one. Couldn't make sure, hey, by the way, you haven't paid your telly licence this week.
So you're the GLTV licence?
Aye.
Fucking hell, man.
And it shows you, I don't claim to be a genius or the guy that invented N, but there's some things that to me seemed so simple that just totally changed everything. Like there's all these guys that are paying for gear. Now you can only get 6,000 in cash. You can have £1 million, but you can only get 6,000. It's in plastic. And if you get caught with more than 6,000, no, I think it's 5,000 because you always get 5,000, the plastic, and then you get 1,000 in change. They never give you 6,000. So you don't have to change immediately to go to the shop. So you never should have more than 6,000. If you get caught with more than 6,000 on you, that's instantly you're in the cooler or whatever. It's a serious charge. So what do you do with all these plastic cards? Because you're selling gear, you're loaning people money. How the fuck do you do it? And it's like, well, somebody would owe you and they bring in twice the amount of gear. But then so you've got all that much money, but you've still got 100,000 cards that you can't spend. You can get somebody to bring in tracksuit for you to want a tracksuit or bring somebody, but you cannot get more than, there's no money making in it. You can get all your luxury goods, you can make your life, but you can't make money. And I'm like, but wait a minute. Instead of him giving, you're getting his wife to bring in a tracksuit for you, why not get his wife just to give that money to your mate? Never thought of that. And I'm like, oh my God, you know what I mean? But because they wouldn't trust each other or there was no guarantee, but obviously with the backing that was on the outside, that was just all of a sudden things just took off, you know what I mean? Because you're actually making money then, you know what I mean? That's actually because otherwise it's a plastic card.
So it's getting made on the outside? Right, okay.
You can only get 30 quid a week and you've run up a 100 quid bill. You're going to give me that in a tracksuit and fucking 10 plastic cards? What good's that to me? But your best pal goes on and gives my best pal 100 quid, 500 quid.
Aye.
It's a lot different.
No, definitely.
But they hadn't the brains to see that
so
far
did
ahead.
nobody have that foresight to do that?
No.
Really,
didn't have
Seems
that.
such an obvious solution.
Because you're dealing with junkies and wasters and low-level things.
Don't go anybody doing outside that can do that, really.
And they don't know anybody that would be able to put the frighteners up if it did happen.
Aye.
And it was the other thing as well, it was a similar thing nobody thought about before, but it didn't work out quite as well, was I get put in with the guy that was with me after about a month or something like that. They put us up because he'd been asking for me to go in with him because it's two in a cell. And like neither of us was doing any drugs or anything like that, but everybody else was wasted. So we decided we make some bevy. Because one thing you've got there is loads of fruit, because at the end of your dinner they've got boxes of oranges or pears or whatever. They're all mangled, you know what I mean? Because you don't get the best of gear. It's like farmers are going to throw it out so they get to the prison.
Aye.
And you get as much of the fruit, and you can get the sugar sachets, out of the coffees.
Aye.
That's probably why I was going to see Manny there in the corner. I want all his sugar. Making wine. And you get the mop bucket, and all you do is you get a sock, put the white out loaf of bread in the sock, the sugar, and all the fruit, and just leave it. It's naturally that hot. You leave it for about a week, and you've got like wine. But it's not the greatest strong, and it's pretty horrible tasting.
Aye.
So we did this, and we eventually bought mop buckets off our neighbours and all that. You know what I mean? You don't want to mop the floor and that. Fucking. Now you can't hide them. See your bottle of water. It's just like that. We had about 20 bottles of water, full with the ones that were hanging, and there's all sediment and all that. And then we discovered you could filter it through your
socks.
And that would take most of the shit out. But we must have had about 10 buckets going under the bed and bottles everywhere. You couldn't hide it if you got caught. And they caught us. And it's like, fuck's sake. And the head guard that everybody said was a cunt and all that, was a bastard nut. But he was actually all right. He just didn't like all these arseholes. But if you treated him with respect, he would treat you with the same. And he's just been like that, you know what I mean? What the fuck? You know what I mean? But he's seen us, we're doing sport, we're doing sit-ups and press-ups and playing football and running and all that. And they're like, look, no you couldn't speak into that. No drogas, you know, Escocese, Scottish, you know, kilts, fucking drinking. The guys just laughing. He went, fucking like, walked out and left us with it. But the thing was, the first time we tried it, we tried a couple of sips and, oh, that's fucking, no, it wasn't as powerful. That's horrible. It was more like it. And we decided we'd wait it. We said we'd wait a fortnight or something like that, or 10 days, because somebody told us that's how long we waited. I think we waited about a week. And we made ourselves sick, because to get that drunk, with the weakness of it, it was like drinking, you know, the cheap lager. You have to drink 40 cans of it. So by the time you drink 40 cans, you're puking anyway, because it's so bad. And we couldn't think of a way to do it. So we're both going, right, we need to like get a distillery going, you know, and we'll hang me it off. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't working. We couldn't find any way that we could get it. Like, fuck this. Because we'd managed to make a way. We closed down the prison electricity quite a few times.
How'd you manage that?
Well, you didn't use the kettles and that. We didn't have kettles and that, and we wanted to heat the stuff. The tiles on the wall, you get the tile, break a tile so it's ceramic. You get your lamp or your light, the two cables, put one on either side and put it in the water. And that's your element out your thing. But if they touch, you blow the fucking lights in the whole prison. So, like, that's
they touched.
Aye, they touched a few times. But, you know, we did it all the time. So we'd heat things. But couldn't get anywhere to heat it. The kitchens, you couldn't, it was too obvious. But then I had a brainwave. Well, if you can't heat it, what's the other thing you can do to it? You can freeze it. There's freezers everywhere. So we get the bottle of that of wine. And when it freezes off, it's just the water freezes, and the alcohol is like, say what you've got left, less than that out of the litre
alcohol
bottle.
Doesn't freeze.
You've got less than that out of the litre bottle. So what's that? About a fifth or something like that. I think it would be about a tenth would be the alcohol. Mm-hmm. So that's brilliant. Just fucking the alcohol out. Here we go. Fucking took one thing. I'm surprised we're still alive.
Really, aye.
Right.
100%.
So, aye. And then we've got to fucking dilute it again. You know, it's a crazy thing. You know, you spent all this time trying to get it powerful. Then you couldn't drink it. It was that friggin' strong. It's like a Coke in there. Oh, no, I still too. It's like just diluting it all the way back again.
When you eventually did get your sentence, what was it like? What did that change for you in prison? Like, finally, you had a vision of release upcoming. Did that change anything for you, like your circumstances?
I actually gave in the end, because it was holding back a lot of the things. Because although we'd been out a few times to do the radio and stuff like that, that was sort of illegal or underhand. It wasn't because I was on demand. I shouldn't have been out. The director signed it under his, you know, like if we didn't come back, he'd get hauled. You know, he'd get his balls chewed severely. Uh-huh. So it made it a lot easier if I just took the sentence and I sort of eventually bit the bullet. And what they did, and I didn't really realise this until last year when all the old guards and the social workers came up with the flat and they were looking through all the old paperwork and they were showing and stuff. Now, it's totally illegal and unheard of, but I'm not complaining, because they'd made a deal that if I had signed and took the sentence, that they would give me all the time I'd been in remand, because all the other guys are getting awards, you know, for playing places and all that and doing this, and they're getting a day off and this, and they're getting, the music was treated as a day for a day job. It was like working in the kitchen or whatever music was. But I get nothing because I was in, and they actually backdated it, which you can't do. But if you look at my sentence, they did it. Right. And it's totally illegal. But the paperwork's there. It's on the website. You can see it. Like, they've given me like a day for a day redemption for the time that I was in remand, which is Disney. And by that time, that was when we were we were on the newspapers and everything, and I agreed to the sentence because, like, I was supposedly going straight into the open prison. You know, so, you know, I'd done, like, I don't know, 2.5, 3 years or whatever at that point. So it wasn't like any big deal. You know, the appealing was having the appeal in Madrid was just holding everybody back. So I just said, like, I'll swallow the sentence, I'll take the 6.5 years. Because they couldn't put it any higher, but the thing was, it was crazy. It was like, well, even if they give you a reduction, you're actually losing, because by the time it comes down, you'll have done more than you've, you know, but it was this stupidity. I'm no accepting being guilty.
The stubbornness is just
yeah,
gonna
basically stubbornness, stupidity. But the minute that came through, that was it. So I just got it. They were supposedly going out into the open section, and this was us in the newspapers and that. We'd done the recording sessions, won the album, things just came out, we're on the telly all the time. And that's just when it goes up to the cell one afternoon, and we're talking about, you know, we're getting you a flat and all that, and we'll come out and you can play. The only thing is, all the other band members are on the open prison. The only thing it's on, or we'd be doing 5 nights a week, you know, playing outside and all that, you know, and I'd have a flat and we'd have a recording thing, and we'd doing, it was all set up. The whole back was me. And so there, and one of the guards didn't get on me. He's come up. Now I was fluent Spanish then, and he's come up and he's like, "You're off to Carabanchel now," and that's like the bogeyman thing, you know. You go to the big bad place, you know what I mean? They tell the kids and all that. Carabanchel used to the fear of God to all the inmates and all that. You know, that was like, you're going to Alcatraz. No, hi, I'm going to the open prison. You mean? No, you get 5 minutes, pack your gear, and this is in the siesta period. I've just said cheerio to the guys and that, you know, went up and just going up for a kip, you know what I mean? We didn't have to, we set our own hours, because we were apart. If we wanted to stay out and stay rehearsing in the cinema place, we could be there from 9 in the morning till 9 at night. We didn't have to go back. They actually come out especially to do the counts. They come out and count us. We didn't, everybody else has to be, even the ones that work in the kitchen or that, they have to go back to the patio at 12 o'clock and at 6 o'clock to get the general head count. But they actually had, they send somebody, especially like one of the guards, just to count the 5 guys in the band, or there was somebody there helping doing the sound or that, you know what I mean? So I went away up for a sleep and said cheerio to the guys, I'll see you in a bit, you know, and some of them were staying on, others would go for something to eat or that. And that was it. They never heard anything from me since. You know, I just disappeared, and only found out, as I said, a year ago, that they'd all been told that my dad had won the lottery and paid my fine, you know, the 65 million. And that's what they got told. I went for that prison, I got put for there, you know, I just grabbed like the wee acoustic guitar. I was talking about a couple of songbooks that I had in the room and a couple of cassettes or whatever. Get put in a van, no idea where I'm going. And they basically took us, I think it was somewhere between 6 and 8 days, lost count. They would take us out in a van, and to go from Murcia to Madrid is 3 hours on the train, maybe 4 hours in the car. Right. Took me 6 days, 7 days, 8 days. Because they would take us out of one place at 8 o'clock in the morning, so I didn't get breakfast. I get handed like a loaf of bread and a bottle of water. And I'm in, depending, there was various, some were buses, some were vans. So there's like a gate that is maybe like stops there. So my knees are up here and it's solid metal. And you get the windows, the sun coming in. You can't go for a pier that. You're manacled anyway, up to there. You've got a loaf of bread and a bottle of water. And they'd make it so that I arrived at like 6:05. So dinner's already gone.
So were they taking you from a prison to another prison on the way up?
Aye, or in Spain.
Right, so you were going to different jails?
Aye, just for it to screw about us.
Right, okay.
They didn't go, they took us to like, you know, Gibraltar, then back up to Barcelona, then to, you know what I mean, run.
Why were they doing that?
Just to annoy, you know what I mean, do your head in. Right, because like, I wasn't supposed to move in the first place. The director knew nothing about it. It was like the assistant director. I'm only finding this out now. It's not my conspiracy theory. I didn't spend 30 years being bitter about the jail. I never thought about the jail. You know what I mean? It was the guards and the prisoner wards. They've looked through the paperwork because they all get split up as well. All the people that worked with the band, I knew nothing of this until last year. Everyone, from the guy that was the guitarist, that was the manager, to all the social workers that worked with it, they all get sent to different prisons. They all get split up. All the guys that were in the band get moved to other places and all that. They just... somebody had it in for us because we were getting too big before our boots.
Right,
we were
okay.
embarrassing them because, like, I'm starting to sing protest songs and all that. You know what I mean?
I see.
You know what I mean?
So they had to intervene at some point. So
Yeah.
where did you eventually end up?
In Carabanchel, and if you look it up, Carabanchel prison was 1980s. It's the most notorious prison in Europe. It was like 2,400 people into a place that was designed for 1,200. All maximum security, all Cat A. You know, these guys are like murderers, narco traffickers and all that. Oh, I found out, somebody else told me because they were looking at the thing, it's where Narcos, the documentary, and that takes place. The guys out of Colombia and all that, they were passing through Madrid all the time. Two of the top guys in Madrid get caught. Obviously, they go to Carabanchel. And the whole of the Colombian cartel into Europe took place in Carabanchel jail because they met up with the Galician smugglers who did all the coastal routes for hash and heroin and all that. But up until then, like Escobar and all that, and Ochoa and all that, they only put stuff into Florida.
Right.
You know, they only dealt with the United States. Nobody brought coke. You know, it would be people going for the UK over to buy a couple of kilos and bringing it back. There was no Colombian thing. That all took place the late 80s, early 90s in Madrid, in Carabanchel prison. That's where they all met up.
Right, okay. So is this where you spent the remainder of your sentence?
Yeah.
So what was it like being in there? What kind of occurrences happened there? How long did you actually be in there?
It wasn't as that long. It was a few months. And by that time, you know, you're wise and you know everybody, and people knew it was coming. They looked after us and all that. You know what I mean? It wasn't any big grief apart from the first day. And I told mates about this when I first came back. You know, what was the prison like? Then I'm telling them, they're like, "Oh, fuck off! That's no." You're loopy. So I stopped telling people about things because until they could read it in print years later, I just sounded like a lunatic. Because there's a book out and it's called Last Man Out of Carabanchel, because about 7 years after I left Carabanchel, they shut it down. Amnesty International and all, and the European Union condemned the prison, you know.
Right, okay.
It was that bad because Spain had joined the common market by then.
Right.
And there's a book about that, and the guy goes into describing the prison, and when you look onto that, there's various documentaries about the jail, and I was telling them there was a place in it that you go in, and my Glasgow old word would be to tober you up. If you've been acting the fanny.
To tober you up?
Do you know what tober you up means?
No, I never heard that.
Tober you up is like your ma will give you a tobering up, you know, if you've been a bit wide. You smack
What,
you.
give you a licking?
Aye.
Give you a licks? Right, okay.
Right.
Yeah, tobering up.
So
first I've heard that.
there's I can't remember, I'll send you an email about there's name it. It wasn't the cooler, it wasn't anything. There was a name for it. It was something like the Bronx. I think it was the Bronx or something like that they called it. And there was 2 cells. Specifically, if you had been a fanny, you would get sent there, right? Because there was either 16 or 20 beds in a cell, and that was the lowest of the low, the roughest of the rough. But you had to be like warned about 20 times before you get sent there. Now I arrived and got put straight in there.
Really, aye?
I got off as a bus and put it there. Now, again, I've been really fortunate. Like I said, I got lucky when I arrived in Murcia. Something happened and somebody was looking after me. I've arrived there and I've walked in the door and it's like, usually it's 2 in a cell. And I'm just looking in and it's like, what the fuck is this? And there's like blankets coming down. So the blanket for one hides who's in the one below it, kind of thing. It's
Aye.
like that. And I just seen these guys now, these are the roughest of the fucking rough. You know, it's all jippos and, you know, junkies and what, they're all like seeing a white man, you know, and growling towards us, and I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. And the way the door opened, there was somebody just there, and just by sheer fluke, I'm not saying I'm Bruce Lee or anything like that, it's just a natural reaction. I felt the guy coming and I've been like that, that's all. And the guy, by sheer fluke, has hit his eye socket right on the corner of the metal bed. It's just been the right height. I've not intended it, but this guy's face is like erupted. So that's put the other 15 or 19 have sort of stopped. And just at that point, there's a whole group of British guys run through at me back, going, oh, come here. Because somebody had switched the papers. I'm supposed to be going to like Gallery 1 where, you know, and all the British guys have been told I'm arriving and they've got a nice wee cell and I'll be getting in with you know, you look after me and all that, you know what I mean? But somebody, going back to the conspiracy thing, which was, they can't get at the director or the guys elsewhere, but it's easy to get at the other band members, send them all around the country. It's easy to get at me because, you know, it's their way of getting their own back, you know, petty. So they've thought me in there. Now, I could have killed in there, you know what I mean? It's very, very lucky. I mean, it's like, I didn't mean, I'm no martial arts, I just instinct hit this guy and that was enough. But at that point, the other guys will come running through and they've just dragged us away. Nothing was said about it because they couldn't put me on a charge because somebody's faked papers or bunged somebody to put me in there. I shouldn't have been near there, you know what I mean? And they got us out, and it was quite funny because they come out and they're all like, "Want a coffee and fags?" And I didn't know it was totally a whitey, you know what I mean? Someone's gave me a fag and I'm like, and the one I remember, I just seen this guy's face, this Spanish guy, and looking, and I'm going, I know you, and I've just seen this guy's face go equally white. Because what used to happen is, see, people would be borrowing money for like the gear and that in the jail, and they'd know they were getting released on the Monday, but they wouldn't tell you.
Aye.
So on the Sunday night, they'd have the flu or something like that, or get locked up, or they know they're getting transferred. You know, they wouldn't say, "I'm getting transferred on Tuesday, so here's the money, all you." So this guy who's owes my mate Joel like a fucking fortune, and he was getting transferred up to Madrid. But hadn't told him, and this is about a few weeks later, and he's seen me and he's went, "Oh my God," you know what I mean? And I'm thinking, aye, like, well, there we go. You know, just how karma happens. This guy's shafted me mate, and then the next thing, you know, he's standing in front of me.
So what happened?
Oh, he squared up.
Oh, did they pay it, aye?
Well,
They didn't have a choice.
he didn't really have a choice, you know. Plus interest and all, and inconvenience and a buggerance factor for annoyance.
Buggerance tax. So let's take me to when you finally get released. What was your thoughts and emotions? And
Right, to get released, I was asking, now, this is again going back to, I'd never paid any attention to all the paperwork, and I found all my old jotters and my diaries and stuff like that. I had a bit OCD writing, just everything done, but you've got nothing else to do, you know what I mean? And it was looking at it, I mean, I must have been a total nightmare, because I've got these wee instances, the forums, you know, instances to speak to the director, instances to speak to the welfare director, instances to speak to this. I'm like this, you know, like the one-man union. I've got, because I spoke fluent Spanish, I've got audiences. I want this and I want that, and I want me, because they wouldn't give me a release date, because from their point of view, it's like paying off a debt. You can't get a settlement figure until you've paid. They can only tell you sort of, because you might not work the last day that you're supposed to, so you only get half a day. So until they can give you a rough approximation of when you're getting out, but it was all dependent, because every 3 months you get your redemption thing. So if you don't do the 90 days clean, you don't get 90 days off. You could do something on the 89th day and you've buggered the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So they can only project like what you got. So they can say, well, if you're good, you should get out in a month. But that's if your papers come through on time. Uh-huh. But your papers might not, so you might actually do 2 months, you know, if your papers take a while to come down your registration for Madrid or whatever. So it was like that. And I just remember I got mine through and it was like, you're going? Seriously? Aye, tomorrow. And I'm like, okay. And that was it. I had no sort of, I knew I was there, but years before, when I was first in and I was still on remand, we were always appealing and all that, and you'd get occasional visits from the state lawyers saying, oh, your paperwork's here and it's looking good. But the only time people ever got released was during the siesta period, because that's when all the paperwork was done. Probably so you don't as well. It makes sense. You couldn't sort out all your monies and that with the people in the morning, and at night you get, when you just come up while you're locked up. But they used to take great pleasure, because no matter how many times they do it to you, and everyone was the same, the guards would tap on your door and they'd open the door, and they don't open your door unless there's something, you know what I mean? And they're saying, oh, aye, Jordan, you're getting out, did they get your gear together? And you'd be like, you fucking dancer. Start patting, then you go, we're only fucking kidding. See, that is like mental. You go for it. That is the coolest thing you can do.
Did they do that? Did they do that?
Oh, aye.
Fuck.
And see, the thing is, a few months later, they'll do that again. And you know there's a chance that they're doing it. But you know at the same time, you're out on appeal. So any day your appeal could come down, you can get off. You know, so you've got that hope. And everybody's the same, you know, no matter what you're in for. There's always something, you know, you've got an appeal in, or you might be getting something off for this. So they can always wind you up. And no matter how many times they do it, I'm not saying they've done it every day, but they've done it a few times too, and you can't help yourself. You've got that inbuilt, you know, belief and goodness. And they come in and say, like, aye, that's it, something's happened, aye, you're getting out, you know, get your stuff, your appeals come through. And then, no, I'm going to see you're going to get done. That's why I had a lot of thing in for them getting my own back. I couldn't take them round and give them a slapping, but it was kind of my own way of getting,
right, okay, your own rebellion.
you know what I mean? It's pretty, you know what I mean, petty, but it was, in my mind, that was just, you know, payback time, you know, going on the radio and they're saying, like, you know, and how were the guards and all. I said, they kicked the shit out of us and all that, you know what I mean? What? You're not allowed to say that. You're going to get it when you go back. So what? You know what I mean? Well, then the next time I come out, I'll just say the same thing again. You know, and what's the food like? Shite. What do you think it's like? Oh no, you're not supposed to say that, because the other guys are all saying, oh yeah, it's all right, you know, and the guards are really nice to us and all that, and they're always like that. And I'm like, they just every time they're interviewing me, you can see the music guy and the social worker guy going, oh no, don't ask him. You know what I mean? Because they know it's like not going to get the, you know.
Nah, he'll be honest.
Aye, it's like.
So tell us about when you get released.
I get released in Santander, and like basically again, when the whole time when I went from Madrid and I went on my tour of Spain, I said that in the paper, I've already done, I don't need to do a music tour, I've already done one in the back of a van. But my money always arrived like days afterwards and all that, and it was the same. They released me and they let us out the gate, and it's like one of those big things you see. You know, there's a wee gate at the side you could walk out, but it's like the big song and dance thing, you know. I mean, they opened the big gate, and there wasn't like in Foot Soldier where there's a limo outside and the whores and the guy being his Charlie and all that. No, I'm out in them in the middle of nowhere. Now, it's supposed to get out at say 8 o'clock, but you're always signing papers and this, and then I'd like, obviously, you know, over the time I've been in, you know, I've not been idle. I've got loads of good gear and all that I'm going to take ways, and oh no, you need to wait for that, and that's no on your signed in list. And I've forgotten about this, because it was one of the guys going, you haven't changed, because when they were up at my flat, they're looking at all the boss gear. There's 2 wardrobes full of there's stuff, half of the wardrobe's getting gear with the label still on it. And one of the guys going, you haven't changed much, look at this. All the stuff they'd taken off me in between prisons, you know, that I'd got for, you know, people, oh, what do you need? You know, get this and this. Like, oh, this boss gear and Armani gear and all that. They wouldn't let us wear, but they'd held, you know, taken off you and
like
held.
Property.
Aye, like that. And they're like that with all this stuff, a whole like, sheets of paper, all the stuff that they've taken off. Because obviously, every time somebody's paying me, it's in gear and stuff like that. And they let you away with some, but other stuff gets held back for your benefit, you know, so you don't lose it. How am I going to lose it? You know what I mean? And on the last day, they've got this checklist of stuff. I've forgotten all about it. And I'm like, Jesus. And what they do is they, you need to wait. Oh, you need to come back this afternoon for that, because you can only get it. Aye, so you will. You know, they've just snaffled all that stuff. Same with the money and your tickets. You're meant to have tickets for this. I went out and I had next to nothing on us. Like coins, even though I had all this money in the bank.
Right.
But I couldn't get it until I got to Madrid or something like that. And then when I was in Madrid, it wasn't there and I had to get it. Yeah, they just took it. And I just got a ticket that got me one way only. And it's so embarrassing because it's got on it prison release thing. They couldn't give you a ticket that just was a ticket you could use on the bus and then the thing me. And of course, they've timed it. Say they open the gates at 8 o'clock, supposed to leave. They waited till about the back of 10. There's only one bus a day, right, from Santander to Bilbao, where I was going to get a train. And they've timed it so I'd missed the bus. And I went back to Chap. I can't get the bus. Can you phone me a taxi so I can get the bus at the next stop or whatever to get to the railway station to get my connection? No, you can't come back in. You're not allowed back in. I just want you, can you phone me a fucking taxi? No speaking English and all that. I'm not speaking English, you fanny, you know what I mean? But apparently they did that to everybody, it didn't matter, just to annoy you. So I wasted the whole day between Santander and Bilbao, and then got the train from Madrid, Bilbao, down to Malaga. And that was the first time I actually realised I could actually speak quite good Spanish, because it was like overnight train, and I was with this young couple and the wee baby, and like me and the guy were talking, and he's like, "You come for a coffee at the bar?" We just stretch my legs. Aye, all right. Then I'd go with her while he watched the way, and I'm talking all the way in Spanish and all, and get on with great. And they're like, "Where is it you're going when you get off?" Because this is Malaga. I said, "Well, first protocol, I need to go to Torremolinos, because I've got in my mind, you never know, this stuff might be in that car, you know, fantasy," and it was. But they had a car, and like, aye, right, well, we've got the car. If you want to wait, it'll take half an hour for the train to get unloaded, and then the car comes off the back of the train. We'll give you a lift there. Aye. And what part of Torremolinos is it you come for? And I'm like, Barhead. And they're like, what? Glasgow. And they're like, what do you mean? I'd been talking to this couple for like 12 hours in Spanish, and they actually thought my accent was like a Malaga accent, you know what I mean? Really? So I started going like, hey, I must be no bad at it. But the thing was, I found it when I went back to Glasgow, you know, the first few days back, and for ages, I was translating in my head from Spanish into English.
Really?
Well, I was speaking Spanish all day. I was reading Spanish newspapers, I was watching Spanish telly, and I wasn't speaking any English. So
yeah, I suppose, so it does leave you.
I remember somebody that was speaking languages say the way to tell it is see when you hit yourself. And I was going like, oh there, which is fucking Spanish, when I hit my knee off something.
Aye.
I'd be thinking that in Spanish first before going, oh shit.
Really, aye?
And it's like, when I was going, say I was going to the shops now, I'd be going to myself in Spanish, necesito comprar eso, instead of in your head you're going, I need to buy like, you know, deodorant and bottle of Jack and whatever. You know, you're thinking in your head, necesito, you're actually thinking in Spanish to yourself when there's nobody else there.
Because you've doctored your mind to think that way. And
it's like, it's easier for you to do it. And for ages when I came back, I'd be counting in Spanish and then translating it into English because I was quicker. But now when I've come back, you know, I'm doing the opposite. It's only now, recently again, because I was speaking more with the interviews, because I don't really speak that much Spanish in Spain, because all the people where I stay are mainly expats, so they're all speaking English. And all the Spanish, they want to learn English for their jobs. So even though they obviously speak Spanish and you're in Spain, they want to speak to you in English because it's like a status symbol that they can.
Aye.
And when you try to
bilingual.
And when you try to speak back to them, they're like, what? But it is quite good, because some of the Spanish, when you start speaking to them in English, I kept saying that to everybody I knew, look, do it because they love it when you do. Because you're, especially if you're Scottish and know English, because they just say like, oh, English, and the English speak to the Spanish two ways. They'll speak in English, and if they don't understand, they'll just shout in English. Because it's like, if you shout louder, they'll understand. You know what I mean? Whereas if you go, no, I'm no English, I'm Scottish. Oh, right, I was Escocese, Faldas, Celts and all that, you know, and yeah. But then when you're speaking, it's so because nobody else makes the effort. Because they assume that and you go into shops or bars, and when they see that you're trying to make the effort, they really appreciate that. You know what I mean? Because it's like, they're that used to people just, you know, assuming that they should learn the language, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. See, so how was your emotion when you came back to Scotland? How was it?
It was like a roller coaster kind of, because obviously I've travelled down, I've done my wee bits of wheeling and dealing in Spain, then I've been frog marched onto the aeroplane. I've arrived in Glasgow, and my mum and dad's have come to pick me up, and I'm like, look, I'll phone you, because I'm expecting, you know, to be hours or days, you know, at the other end. I've got off the plane, because I'm in the front seat, I've got the little tartan, you know, the soft guitar case. It's tartan, of course. Like, not even a sports bag, one of the cheap, like a shoe bag, you know, just a bag, sports bag with no pockets or that. It's got a couple of song boots, and like, I think I got a couple of, because it was free, I got a couple of sweeties after the plane. You know, with the passing me the trolley, a Kit Kat or something like that in the papers. And that's what I've walked off with. And all I've got is a sheet of paper. It's on the website. You can see it. It's in a photocopied thing of paper, my name, all over it, Spanish prison, sentence, released, I've showed that to customs and I've walked straight through. And I'm like, I thought I'd be turned upside down, hanged, searched and all that. And I'm thinking about it, but maybe that's the best time ever to smuggle in, because they think, who the hell in their right mind is going to try and smuggle in the new? That's when I should have come back with a pile of stuff. And I've come through customs, and although I told my mum and dad not to come, my sister had just had a wee boy and working out the timeline. He was 6 months old. I had no experience of kids, you know what I mean? I was a student, you know what I mean? And then I was working in nightclubs, and then I was over in Spain, you know what I mean? I'm not for a big family or anything like that. It's the first time I've seen a baby, I think, you know what I mean? And I gets handed this 6 month old baby, and I'm like, what if I drop him and all that, you know what I mean? And like that was, I get released in St Paddy's Day, so that's probably about 2 or 3 days after that, and stayed at my mum's and that, my mum and dad's, like the house that I was in my teens, well, for like 12 to like 15 growing up, you know what I mean? It's a house, and it was like, I've been all these places, you know, and I'm back here, you know what I mean? But then I was just like, I don't think I left the house in the first 3 days. Sorry. And I remember going out, and at the time there was a big thing. It was like the hockey jackets and all that were quite trendy. And my dad used to play ice hockey. My mum had bought one for my dad. So it's one of the hottest Easters in record. Everybody's wanting about bare heads, white legs and shorts and t-shirts and all that. I've got this big hockey jacket on, I've got thermal gloves, and I'm walking about and freezing. Everybody must have thought, who's that, Looney? And I swear to God, I still feel the cold now. You know what I mean? I've never reacclimatised. And I had to do a couple of things, recuperate things. I had to go down to London a couple of times, things I'd actually forgotten about, and they sound so surreal, but the proof is there. You know, I've got witnesses now that I can tell the stories I've got. I get this wee thing in a journal, you know, everything's in code, and I'm like, why am I? And then I remember, that's right, I went down to Liverpool about a fortnight after I went back. It's a payment into an account in Liverpool, bank account in Liverpool, to look after, years before, to look after one of the Colombian guys, one of their accountants, because he was like shipped down from Madrid to Murcia, and they needed me and the French guy looked after him. 17 grand.
That's what you get paid?
Aye, so I don't know what the equivalent of that, I don't know what that was in Colombian money or dollars or Spanish money at the time, but that was half each. And that was just somebody, because the wee guy was going to get shafted. And somebody had put word down to like my French mate and like that, you know, look after him. And when I was getting released, they said, oh, by the way, obviously they don't know that Liverpool's nowhere near Glasgow. So, oh, we put a wee thank you for you, and I didn't ask for it, and then like, it was just they heard it get out, you know, and people do, some nice people do sort of look after you. And since we go to Liverpool, I forgot all about it. And I remember coming down to Liverpool, but I thought I'd been down with the family. You know, your memory goes, I thought maybe take the kid down for the day or something. Well, I would take a kid to Liverpool, but I forgot about it. You know, it's 30 years ago. Then I'm looking at this stuff with the social workers and the guards and that going through all the paper. I'm like, that's like a post office thing, my account. No, a post office account. The other one, the National Savings Bank account, Liverpool. I think that's the head office. The National Savings account number, and then there's the receipt thing and all that, and the number, 17.5 grand. I'm like, Jesus, that's a story in itself, you know what I mean? Like,
Real wage.
Aye, but who paid it? That's the fucking cartels.
Fucking hell, did it not nothing to get traced back, do you know?
30 years ago, they didn't have anything like that.
I suppose, times have changed,
But that's allegedly what it was for, you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
I actually won the premium bonds with Ernie.
That's it, man. That's it. But see, to be honest, mate, it's we could go right into where life went to after that. And you eventually found yourself into advertising, man. But I think it's probably time to wind it down, because I think it's been about 3 years we've been chatting, man. Aye, it's been a good chat. I think we could do a part 2, man.
Aye.
But it's been a really interesting chat.
Yeah,
really
and we haven't even got onto the music yet. You know, when we get a jam session together.
Oh, 100%. We need to do that, man. We need to set something up, man.
Yeah, I can bring the recording studio over, get the 8-track.
Well, I've got one set up right there as well. I've got a digital one.
I get analogue old style.
Old school versus the new school, innit?
I've got all the gimmicks, but you need to show us how to work them all.
Definitely. I can definitely try anyway.
I've got all the stuff here. I've got all the what you call them stems. I've got all the tracks now. You can mix my stuff for me actually.
I can get a bash, 100%.
Seriously, because I've got all the stuff. I just recorded them. And never go back to them because they're only there so I don't forget how they go.
No, definitely a backing track. I could definitely get a bash.
Give some advice.
100%, man. But that's enough for me. Allan McCarthy, if you get anything you want to promote to the viewers, your website, your SoundCloud,
if there's anything there that interests you, if you go to the website, which is just berlin90.com, BERLIN, and then the numbers 90.com, that's the name of the band, and anything you want there. The music's on there, the SoundCloud's on there, there's videos, there's interviews you can see all the newspaper cuttings. You can see it's not actually a fantasy. You can go and see all the newspapers and that. And with a bit of luck, and maybe Jordan can point me in the right direction, or he might be my ghostwriter, but there will be a book forthcoming soon as well.
Definitely, man.
And a few documentaries.
Come off the back of this.
Documentaries coming. Jordan's going to come out and film me in Spain.
That's exactly it. Documentaries, books and tunes, man. What more could you want?
The prison, you can be the rhythm guitar at the prison gig.
I could do that,
Aye.
100%. There you go, people. Opportunities. But anyway, that's enough for us. Like, subscribe, and don't get wide. Catch you.
Right, see you later. Bye.